Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Wildcard Podcast. It's a new month, G. July has come. I hope everyone had a great 4th of July, but we're back in action here as we celebrate the pressure season, as I like to call it. It's time to get down to business, G. The business end of the season, round 19 of the championship, if you look at it as a 30-round season. We're talking about a little bit what the theme is in a little bit of the intro here. And what are you looking forward to this month, G, in this July month here? Big tournament coming on, pressure season. What are your thoughts coming into this month of July as we start to get to the business end of the season?
I think for me, really, the thing we're looking forward to most is kind of how the regular season's wind down because we got a lot of stories going into this one, and this is really where it's go time at this point. So I think you're going to see a lot of different things come out of this, a lot of different storylines, both with Super League and relegation, which is a new thing this year. So I'm looking forward to it for that reason because I think last year it was kind of like all up in the air for how it happened, and it felt like Tournament 5 was just kind of like the last sprint. But I feel like the last sprint's kind of starting a bit early this year. Tournament 4 is kind of like the go time here, and I believe you said that in the prior episode. So to me, I think that's really going to be the most interesting thing. We'll see how that plays out.
It is time to go, G. You're absolutely 100% right. It's go time. It's time to get down to business. Now, before we get down to business, G, we have to make a little bit of an omission here, right? How did we
Mm-hmm.
get here? How did we get to the theme? Well, for those of you who don't know, Bad Brad took care of business in T3, and he gets the number one plate, right, as the usual. He got his prize, which not a surprise. He went for some shades. Not an issue there, but that's typical Brad. And then he had to pick the theme. Now, for Brad, for those of you who don't know, obviously G can't stand his state flag. I know that. I don't mind it, but that's just me. I do like where he's at in the world. He isn't from the Pacific Northwest, very, very foresty, and he went with a little bit of foresty jungle July. Just about. Obviously, I came up with the forest. I had a feeling. I said he was going to pick the forest. I kind of came up with that in a way. Just saw it as a no-brainer. Gee, I think we all, as a team, went with Jungle July. We had to do some changes, but basically what Brad told me is he wants to get this a little bit of shout out to the PNW, right, Pacific Northwest, make it a little bit at home, coming in as the number one overall seed. Your thoughts on Jungle July? Obviously, last year it beats last year. We had, what was it, college theme. Now, that's kind of run of the mill, right? Because we already have college basketball with March Madness. So college theme was whatever. But I like this. This is a little bit of a precursor. I know last year, G, we had the survival theme, which is a little bit different than Jungle. But you can correlate that as the pressure starts to build. Your thoughts on Jungle July and what Brad picked before we move into the preview here?
I mean, I think this is good. I get a lot of Welcome to the Jungle vibes here, so a lot of rock
Yes.
and roll there. But I mean, with this one, you mentioned it. Last year, Tournament 4 was the college theme, which I don't think this year it will work because we're starting this at the beginning of July, and I would hope no one's in school in the beginning of July. But um, yeah, I mean, for this also, it's kind of like also where Tournament 5 was the survival theme. It kind of leans into that, so it's going to be interesting to see how Tournament 5 ends up because obviously it won't be the survival theme, I don't think. We'll have something a little different, but it's definitely going to be something more of a last grasp kind of theme. So this is kind of like a prelude to it because you're kind of entering the jungle. It's a bit chaotic here. You don't really know what's going to end up happening. So um, at this point, I think really this is going to be where it comes down to who brings out what they need and can be king or queen of the jungle.
That's it, G. And yes, we shouldn't be in school in July unless your name is Chomik. Obviously, shout out to Chomik. He still is in school. That's a different part of the world in China. Anyway, let's get down to business. Let's talk about the Sprout 64 preview, G. He gave us the round names. We're going to start with Sprout 64. We're not going to spoil the rest of the round names because, well, we want to go one at a time. But you can probably guess the next round name starts with a T. Let's go to the Sprout 64 preview, G. And we started off with Bad Brad in Bi Island. Obviously, the only thing I'll say about Brad, G, we have seen the data, right, on Bi Island. You look at the three players that have been on Bi Island this year, KT, Ashley, and Cap. Obviously, Ashley made it to a back-to-back finale. KT and Cap really didn't have the rhythm in Bi Island, right? They were a little bit different, obviously. Gee, I've been on Bi Island even before the season started, thanks to Super League with the whole we pick a bye week, right? So we'll see what Brad can do. I don't know what his stance is on how he's going to go. I know he wants that double bye. Just wonder how he gets in rhythm after losing a round here. We'll see what Brad. Anything really to add, or is that really you guys? It's just Bi Island Brad. Nothing really to add here, I don't think.
No, not really. I mean, Brad won last tournament. He's kind of going to be in the round 32. I mean, I obviously we have the names and whatnot. I usually refer to it as round 64, round 32 per se, but we'll see what happens with that. And yeah, I mean, Brad's just kind of going to get the popcorn ready and just sit back and relax for this first round here. And with this next matchup, see who his opponent will be.
That's it. And speaking of Brad, he picked the 4 region names. We're gonna go one at a time. He's in the fur region. So if you know the jungle and if you know trees, it's a big fir tree. Yes, fir trees are around the world and in jungles. Looking forward to seeing what Brad can do in his home region, basically. Well, Gene, now we go to our first matchup, and this is going to be a heavy theme in this region. We're going to start it off with Ed MGR, obviously Illinois versus Canada. You look at NCM, a great top 10 finish. Graham had a tough loss to his fellow countrymen in the battle up north, the Great White North battle against Larry, who couldn't finish the deal. This is a tough battle, G. This really is a tough battle. You look at Ed ZM, he's going to light switch this thing like a sailor. You got Grim out there, kind of needing a win. Is he 1-3? I think he is. G. He's kind of in a good spot in a way to not get relegated, but he also wants to make a potential move in the Super League. He needs to start thinking here. What's your thoughts on this matchup before we do prediction? Obviously, Ed's going to light switch. MGR, he's going to fire his ammo cards. We know he's been a big proponent of the Bot 2025. Chat to him, man. Without him, we wouldn't even have this project coming in. But your thoughts on this matchup coming in before making a prediction?
Yeah, I mean, Ziemba's coming off a really good run. His first great run in this league. He's been here since April of last year. Didn't get a win until the last tournament, so kind of went on a bit of a run when it made it all the way to the regional final. So he's coming off a really good tournament, but he wants to try and carry that momentum here and possibly throw himself into the Super League contention at this point. Didn't quite make the top 25 in the last reveal show, but I mean, another good run there. He could definitely be in there and be a contender for tournament 5. For MGR, I mean, I think the real main story for him is about the bot, and unfortunately, not much on the playing table. This has not been an amazing season for MGR so far. Taking a look at the numbers right now, he's currently 1-3 with an 11-14 game record. So he's someone who's got to keep an eye on the relegation battle. I don't think he's in it yet, but I mean, he's definitely not far off from it. He's got to keep an eye out on it, but a win there will definitely be helpful for him to keep him safe there. But this is going to be an interesting match to watch out for. I think both these players are in different mindsets going into this. For me personally, I'm looking at this matchup and I'm really seeing kind of just a bit of a trend with how this first win momentum goes. To me, I think Ziemba is going to be able to carry that a bit forward going and go on, but for how long, I'm not sure, but I'm going to go with a 4-2 for Ziemba taking this one.
We're starting it off 1-for-1, G. Remember, I have to go with the CPU. CPU on the money, 4-2, Ed. And it came down to momentum. And you got to think Ed light switches a lot. He's going to be a little bit more heavy on that. Grim is going to be more heavy on ammo. When he has it, he'll use it. I think Ed will be a little bit more disciplined. He's learned the platform. And he's got the momentum, right? He is scheduled to be in a press conference, too. We didn't discuss that a lot. We'll discuss that a little bit later. But he's in a press conference, too. So we'll see how he handles a little bit of the newfound pressure for Ed. Tries to make a Super League run. This next match is, oh boy. Well, you look at Yepez, it's been a season full of what ifs, in my opinion, for him. What if he didn't play around in March? What if he had been captain T2? Where's his head at? We'll see. It's going to come down to really just getting the win here because Clint's coming in, who just lost in a
I would argue
reverse.
You could say the same thing for Clint also after last tournament.
I would, G, but you got to remember there's the one element that Yepez has that Clint doesn't. Clint's not sober, right? And we know he's not sober, right? I hate to say it on a pod, but he's just not there, right? I was out. I'm calling shots. I know we're going to talk a little about the entry list, and this guy's not specifically in, but I'm going to start kind of taking that role. Look, Clint, stay off the green stuff, man. You got to stay off the green. Right, you got to lock in. Your relegation battle is pretty much right here. You lose this game, you're finished. If Yepez loses this, I'd be shot. I'm going G. I got to go with the CPU. I think Clint will get a win here, but it's Yepez 4-1. Yepez just can't be a fool here and buy into whatever Clint is supposedly going to be bringing, because it's a stream game, G. It's a stream game, and the reason why it's a stream game is Yepez is technically could hit 100 starts this tournament or this round. He needs to go the max distance, basically 6 games or 7. I don't see this going 6 or 7. I think he gets it next round. Yepes, give me 4-1. Has to win this game. Clint's got to win it too. I think Clint's just going to be a little bit too smoked out. What do you think, G? Sorry if I had to make it a little funny there, but I'm just calling shots now at this rate.
No, we're going 2 for 2 here. I fully agree with the score. I think this is Yepes 4-1. I mean, I really think that that June loss for Clint was absolutely detrimental. I don't know how he recovered from something like that because we haven't really seen something like that from Clint. I mean, last year he went 2-5, not a great season. Hasn't really done much better this year. So, I don't know. He's kind of not in a great spot right now. Yepes is definitely determined to get back, get a far run here, like he did sort of in March. And this is the tournament he won last year, so he's got to have that in the back of his mind. But although, to be fair, I mean, when it comes to the track record so far, the people who won the tournaments last year, it's not really looking great right now. So we'll see how that ends up going. But yeah, I still think Yepes wins this 4-1. Clint looking to get a win here, but I think it's going to be too much for him.
Yeah, Clint way out of the left field right now, if you know what I'm saying. So I think he'll have to take a backseat and look to possibly the relegation tournament or T5, where he has historically been interesting. We'll see. Gee, and that's the second right back-to-back second foreign matchup. We got Venezuela versus the U.S., and we got another one. We're starting off with Drip Rad here. Gee, another, oh boy. Jeez, this is a tough one to predict, believe it or not. Drip, obviously, it's a crazy stat. I did the numbers. He's 0-10. That's right, 0-10 in the round of 16. The rest of the season, I'm pretty sure he's 15-11.
Oh dear God.
That's crazy. And he's the number 20th ranked player in the league, right? Super League player. Yepes 25. The problem for Drip is I don't like where he's at right now, believe it or not. This is a scary matchup, and here's why, G. Unlike Clint, who we know is just smoked out, I think Drip will perform. The thing is, Radden is a guy that gets insane card luck. It's been known. He had it against myself. He did. He just didn't know how to play ammo. He had it against Lamas. I'm not going with the upset. No way. But I think Radden will actually put up a fight. The computer's got Radden losing this thing 4-1. I'm actually going to say Drip wins this one 4-2. I think Radden will actually put some dents in Drip's arsenal, despite the craziness that was the loss against Larahuo, where he called out JT for I don't know what reason again. But point is, I think Drip's going to have to lock in here. It's a must-win, similar to Yepes. He cannot afford a loss here, especially to Radden, who's on the relegation line. Thoughts on this one, G? On Drip or Radden?
I mean, I think there's one thing I'd like to point out also. Of course, Radden got that win against Lamas last tournament, but then also proceeded to lose 4-0 in the following round to Larahuo, who has had an okay season so far. I mean, we look at this, and besides that Lamas win, he only has one game win in the other 3 matches he's played, so it's kind of like a major hit or miss when it comes to Radden, and we only have like one sample of like a hit here, so I'm not really sure. I think Drip's going to keep it composed. I actually have this as going down as a sweep. We'll see how this ends up happening, but I don't know. I think Drip. Obviously, besides March, I think Drip's gotten this first round down. He really knows how to get the job done, and we'll see what happens here. But yeah, I mean, I think for Drip, this is a tournament where he feels like he needs to make a deep run here because I don't think a sweep in the round of 16 again is going to cut it.
No, you can't afford to not win basically a cupcake game here. I know it's a 5-12, but gee, we're going to talk about before we get to the next bracket or the next region why Radden is a 12 seed. Some of it's just unfortunate, but let's go to this next match. This is, you know what, G? When I looked at this match, I'm thinking, all right, Tapir for sure. I'm not so sure. Tapir has to think about the mental block he had against Lane where he was up 3-0. Right, he had everything, and he had a game 4 power play right there, and he had, unfortunately, the honeymoon phase you taught is over. Reality set back in, G. You look at Austin Rogers, he's coming off a big, big tournament. Not so much, yeah, I know he lost to Yoshi, right, but a big tournament off the table. He just got married. Congratulations to AR. Had a great time sending down there in Cancun, Mexico. We wish those guys the best with Hurricane Barrel coming in. I really think A. Rogers is going to be motivated. He's a married man now. All that pressure is off the wedding. He doesn't have to plan anymore. I'm going with the upset, G. I think Tapir's style is great. I think it is still good. I still think that mentality of what happened last tournament, it could be scary. It could be scary for Tapir. I'm going A. Rogers in 7. Give me the upset. I think Austin Rogers, married man, despite all that AB nonsense, he's done. He's going to lock in right here. Give me the upset. Rogers moves on to the second round. What do you think, G? It's a big upset call right there. That's what the computer had, too. 4-3, A. Rogers.
I mean, I think that it's an interesting thought. I think the problem is, besides tournament two, Rogers has kind of been nowhere all season. He kind of had that one spurt where he played a great match and then just kind of did nothing. So it's kind of difficult to read because like we know he's capable of that really good play, but like he just rarely ever brings it out. So I'm not sure what to think of this one. I think to Peter, this is really going to be a big test for him to see how he can bounce back from a tough loss. Which, I mean, it doesn't get much tougher than what he had to experience. So, I think that's really going to be the thing to watch out for. Although I've seen Tapir a lot, I think he's someone who can bounce back. Um, and I'm looking at this bracket, and I think there's a matchup here that I do think is likely to happen. I feel like it could be kind of faded, so I think I'm going to stick with that. Slight spoiler for the next one also, but I'm probably going to go with Tapir 4-2. I think because you also have to consider Rogers is has only one win on the season and is 9-15, so he's also kind of in that relegation battle somewhat. So those game wins are going to be important. So I think he does get two of them, but I'm probably going to say Tapir does get the bounce back here and wins 4-2.
It's going to be an interesting game, right? It's a litmus test game. Remember, Tapir is the first guy on the outside looking in, ironically, because that spot is reserved for the D2 champion. It's kind of the irony here. Hopefully that doesn't happen at the season's end. That would be something to know, G, for sure. Gee, this one, well, there's a lot of hype around both these players. You look at Captain, right? A lot of hype around him. What's he going to do after that myth loss? And then everyone's been hyped on A. Allen because, well, he lost in one of the most competitive sweeps of all time, according to some people. You know, gee, I really want to pick the upset here. I really do. But Allen has got a lot of things going on behind the scenes. We're not going to discuss. I don't know if his head's going to be in it, honest to God. I know he's going to try to go escape from reality. I look at Cap. He's too good to lose in round one. We kind of gave Allen a short straw where you got, what was his first three draws? Now KT, Arden, now Cap. That's brutal. I don't know if that's something that you're ready for. It's probably the hardest draws of the season. Because of that, I think Cap wins this one 4-2. Allen will give Captain fits, don't get me wrong, but Cap's got that low-tier package. I just think mentality comes in. Cap cannot afford a lot. Think about it, he's the only real tournament winner, we'll get to that in a little bit, in my opinion, that has the low start game. And I think he's going to be able to define that craft here. Because you look at Brad and myself, that's something we don't rarely do. He does that. He didn't do it against me. I think he breaks that. It's the element of surprise. Give me Cap 4-2.
I kind of agree here. I think another thing also is Allen currently doesn't have a game win yet, which I mean, you could chalk it up to just being a situation of just tough opponents, but I feel like you definitely want to try to get that win. Also, the stuff going on behind the scenes, I think it's a difficult situation. I know some people are going to pick Allen here for the upset, but I just don't see that happening. I feel like Captain Tapir is kind of a faded matchup to happen. So I'm probably going to actually agree. I'm going to go with the exact same scoreline, 4-2 here, Captain. For Captain here, this is really an important tournament here because he's still fighting for the double bye. Absolutely not guaranteed by any means, and he's kind of on that bubble right now. So he's going to be trying to make sure he has that in tow. Otherwise, he might not have it. Might have to play in the group stage even, or even just have a single bye. So we'll see how that goes. But again, Captain 4-2, I think it makes sense. Allen does get the first two wins of his season, but he's probably going to be in a must-win spot in the going into tournament 5. The thing also is since he did miss one of the tournaments, so based off how the relegation list goes, he's probably going to have to get 2 wins here to avoid being in that since we only have 12 0-win people. So we'll see how that goes down.
We'll see how Allen does. We're going to bounce back after a crazy first couple rounds here. Now, this next match, Jay, this guy's coming at the number 14 player in the league. He took a hit. 7 spots down. You look at Sting. You look at that planned Sting. Can it be composed, right? Can it be composed against Brian? I think it will be composed against Brian. But Brian, I mean, gee, let's face it. He had Nam under the table. I mean, he had the game over. If it wasn't for Nam's 6-card start and a little bit of momentum on his side, Brian wins that game. Brian's playing some of his career best Uno, I would say. Gosh, I think this is going to be closer than people think. I think Sting needs this more, the motivation factor, especially you look at the next match. and it could be a little bit of a spoiler here. I think it's going to happen. I'm going to go Sting 4-3. This is not going to go anything less than 7, though. Brian is playing way too good right now. I don't think that's a one-off or a fluke. He wasn't even getting some of the hands against Nam, and he was taking him to school. I think Sting will actually get the job done in 7, but don't count out Brian. Don't sleep on the man, for sure. What do you got?
I mean, I look at this, and Brian's another one of these people who has the one wins, but he's higher up on the list, so I don't think he's in as much danger, assuming he doesn't get swept in the next 2 tournaments. This is an interesting situation because I think a lot of people would agree Brian should have won in May, but kind of just got posed on the cards at the end. And then Stingray's kind of on a downward spiral right now. This is kind of an interesting situation because you got someone kind of on the up and coming who was kind of at the bottom. And you have someone who was kind of higher up who's kind of down, spiraling down. It's going to get a collision point. We're going to see whether it keeps going or whether it course corrects. So I'm actually going to go for the upset here. I'm going to say Brian 4-3. I think he's been playing too well to not get a win here. Definitely going to be looking to get another one on the season. Probably try to make a possible deep run to give a late effort for Sioux League. I don't know if he's going to make it, but I think Brian's pretty motivated right now, more motivated than I've seen him in the past. So I'm actually going to go with Brian 4-3 here. The bit of an upset. Yeah.
Okay. It can go either way. Honestly, guy could. You never know. You just never know with Sting. You never know with Brian. We'll see how this one goes. See, this next one shouldn't be no upset. I'm just going to flat out say it goes 4-0. I think Payne coming off of vacation, normally you would think that'd be good, but the problem is his track record this year has been rough. I'm just going to go Ghost. His style is very sneaky, right? Payne's not a guy to check the table all the time. That's a problem. Ghost is a guy, you don't check the table. He's going to hose you on sneak attacks, and you know it's going away. Right, there's only 2 regular season tournaments left before that goes away. Next year, it's gone. Give me Ghost 4. I don't got much to say here. All Ghost. Too much style. Too much composure. What do you got?
Yeah, Payne's 1-8 in game records this season. He only played in 2 tournaments, so technically, if we're talking about relegation, he needs 2 wins here to get out of it right now. This is a tough draw here, and he's kind of at the bottom right now. So I don't know if I'm going to say 4-0, but I'm probably going to say like a pretty solid gentleman sweep 4-1 here. I think Ghost takes care of this, no problem.
All right, G. Now we'll move on to the next region, which is called the Swamp region. And before we begin on this player we're going to talk about, we have to kind of remiss here and say we lost 5 players, right? And this player kind of got lucky. We don't have Ashley, right? We wish Ashley the best due to vacation. DJ's serving in Hawaii. Those are the 2 big ones. But the biggest one in my opinion, G, is no round 1 art. You don't have that guy in round 1. It makes you wonder, like, man, what's going to happen with the limit? The best guy historically in terms, not so much record-wise, he's lost in round 1, but in terms of play style, his round 1 is off the chart. There's times where I've even been on this show, I'll look to him in a round 1 to see what he does that makes him so good. He's not here. That's a big one. The other 2 people, Jeff, we wish the best to them. So because of that, G, we had to do a replacement, and I know this is probably one of the more controversial guys you'll ever hear about as a 1 seed, but it's Monkey Boy. Oh, man. All right, G, my question for Mike is going to be a little bit. Do you think this hurts him? Or does it help him, right? He's on the bye island, right, which is going to be a pretty big island. Number 2, did you think he needed to play round 1 because he can't afford a loss right now or just sitting out? With those 2 DQ wins, a lot of scrutiny, we put him as the danger zone. I'm pretty sure we both had him in, 9 out of 10 in the danger zone in the last episode. What's your thoughts on Monkey sitting out here in the first round but getting a 1 seed who's never been in the spot before? This is interesting.
I think with how this has gone, I mean, obviously, initial start of the season, we were hoping for Ball 64, but obviously it hasn't happened. So it's not a great situation for Monkey. I don't think this is a good spot he wants to necessarily be in. I think he wants to play that round 1, even if it's against someone who's lower on the table. Because getting at least a win helps because he has 2 DQ wins, which no one else has ever had. And he's kind of like very, very fragile in terms of his spot. So he has a lot to lose here in this first round here in the round of 32, because if he loses to the winner of this next match that we're going to talk about, that could be really bad for him. So and it's obviously, even if he makes it past this round, there's no guarantees he's going to get someone that could be proven as a quality win here, because we have a few people that are kind of all over the place, and we saw last tournament how there's a bit of chaos here. So this is not a great spot for Monkey. He's going to have to make a deep run out of this to benefit out of it because an early loss here will definitely not help him.
He's still a top 10 player in the league, G. 9th overall on the board. Lots to look forward to for Monkey. We'll see what he plays here. And this is a tough matchup coming in. You look at both guys in no man's land. You look at Nick coming in at 2-3, Lane 2-3. Neither guy in the top 25. Stream game. You look at Lane, really incredible run. You know, to beat Superior, anytime you beat Superior, you've done something. And then you basically had Vapor's game on lock. Just an unfortunate timing at the end where he had game 7. Who knows how far Lane could have gone. Similar to Brian, he looks like he's playing some of his best career Uno. He avoids relegation with 2 wins on the season. Nick, has been a struggle. It has been a struggle for him trying to, I guess, get those expectations out of the way. Remember, I think you had him as a top Super League guy or top rookie in the Super League standings at one point. Has not worked out. I think Nick needs this one more, and I'm not going to say it's going to be by much. I got 4-3 here. It's similar to Stan. This can go either way. I think Lane's really motivated. He's starting to find a rhythm, similar to Myth, where he's just finding a package that works. And usually when you find a package that works, G, you can run. I'm going Nick here 4-3, but this is closer than you think. And I'm going to say this right now. If Nick plays Monkey, this is his chance, right? This could be his chance to get back into the fight. What says you?
I'm going to agree with you here. I'm going to say 4-2 Nick. Both these players are at 2 wins, so I mean they're kind of the few players that are kind of in no man's land right now. Like they're not in the relegation battle, but they're also not in the Super League battle. So it's kind of just like what are we even fighting for at this point? So I think for Nick a win here will definitely help. And I mean if he wins against Monkey in the round of 32, that could definitely throw him back into the Super League conversation potentially. But yeah, this is a weird matchup because this is 2 people who don't really have much that they're fighting for at the moment. So I think with Lane, they're just kind of here for the vibes. Nick, I think, is more focused to try to make a run here. So I think Nick's gonna have it locked down when it wins it 4-2.
Yeah, Nick needs this win. I think he has to go into this saying it's must win now, and that's all. That's really all you can do when you're in no man's land. Got nothing to play for. You lose, you're pretty much done. Pack it up. You win, you still got hope, right? That's all you can really do. The pressure we'll talk about a little later. Now, this next game, G, this is one of the more interesting, man. Leah's not won, but has finished 47 3 times. Abion, a lot of people thought he'd be ranked, 12th entering Super. He got up there to 7th. He's up there. On paper, you look at Abion, he's an explosive player, right? He's one of the few. He reminds me a lot of William Brock. He'll use the ammo when he needs to. But he knows how to compose himself and craft because he doesn't switch a lot. That's the difference between Brock and him. He doesn't switch. Brock doesn't switch a lot either, but he goes too aggressive on the ammo. Avion and Brock remind me of the same people. Leah, sneaky player, but it's been the same story. This almost reminds me a little bit of just kind of got hosed a little bit in the first draws. You had a Curtis draw, Vapor draw. Similar a little bit to Allen. This is not an easy draw against Abion. Abion is going to play these mental games that a lot of people don't like. Gee, I personally love him. I said on the last episode, I absolutely love the way he plays his mental game, throws people off. You ask him a question, he'll talk about who knows what, right? Mopeds or something. That's how I like to play the game, too, in a way, on the media side. Give me Abion here. I'm going to go 4-2. I think it's too much Abion. He'll figure out his way to get in there, and he'll start searching for that double buy, I think, too. He could be one of the ones to watch. What you got, G?
Okay, so I'm just going to clarify this before I go into this. I don't have a ton of basis on this per se, but we've seen this from the past tournaments where we have like a lot of matchups where it feels like it's kind of like a written conclusion already, and then it ends up flipping into something else that no one was really expecting. We've had a few of those upsets before where like no one saw it coming. I am going to pick a few of those here, and I think this is one of them here. I still think Leah gets a win somewhere. I don't think they've played bad this season. It's just kind of been unfortunate because they were technically the 64th seed in March, which, I mean, that's kind of just a tough path to go from there. I still think Leah gets a win somewhere. I'm going to go with here. I think they pull something out 4-2, maybe get a little bit of bailout help in some cases, but I don't know. It's an interesting spot, and I think Avian's someone who's kind of susceptible to possibly getting an early round exit. We saw it in April, where they lost to what's their name? They lost to H here, and H is a good player, but H has not had a great season so far. So I don't know. it's one of those matches where I look at it and it kind of emits some kind of aura of like something happening. So I'm gonna go with Leo 4-2 here. Again, I don't have a ton of bases on this. The only basis I really have is that we have a bunch of these upsets that a lot of people don't see coming because they think it's just a written conclusion. So gonna go with that. I still think Leah gets a win somewhere here. If it's not here, then it could be tournament 5, but we'll have to see what happens.
It's interesting, G. It is an interesting prospect. I will say it's a 0-win player, right? They're in a relegation bout. You look at Albion; he's in the fight for Super League. We're going to see a couple of those matchups. There is something to fight for both parties. It is interesting. Gee, there's really nothing, in my opinion, is greater than in-state rivalry. And records don't matter. You can be 0-4, you can be 4-0, you can be 8-2, 9. It doesn't matter. Rivalry games are different, and that's what we're going to get here. We're going to get 2 of them in this region. In-state bout, New York versus New York, upstate versus the Bronx. I went back and forth on this one, G. Acosta's a guy that likes to put people into headlocks and have those long, crazy, drawn-out games. I think Seth wins it. More wild control is ultimately going to be his thing. He's got that in him. He needs it more. Costa, I mean, since his Fitzy win has just been out the lunch. I'm pretty sure since his Fitzy win, G, if I'm not mistaken, he's only got 4 wins after that win. So I don't like where he's at.
You're correct.
I know he's gonna drag people out. I'm going Seth Cole here. I'm gonna go say 4-2. It'll be closer. I was gonna say 4-0 at first, but then I realized it's a rivalry game. 4-2. Seth's just gonna be a little bit too much composure here. He's got the job done. What do you say, G?
I think the problem with Acosta here is that Fitzy win is not really aging that greatly because it's still his only win in the league, and Fitzy's currently at 0 wins on the season. So, yeah, this is kind of a tough one, to be honest, for Acosta. Like, he likes running it long, but it's not really gone to much success. I think Seth has shown he's a pretty solid player, and I think he's got a lot, too, that he feels like he has to fight for because he made it to the Super League top 25, but a lot of people felt like maybe he shouldn't have been on there, so I think he's got something he feels like he has to prove. So I'm going to go with a 4-1 here. Acosta, you said it perfectly. He's just been out to lunch since March, so yeah, I'm probably going to say Seth takes this one here.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think the rivalry game makes it a little more intriguing, though, because it is in-state battle. We have seen those battles in Illinois be classics. We'll see how New York goes here on this time around. We'll have 2 of those. We'll get to that a little later. Gee, I went back and forth. This one, the CPU is really favoring Zach, believe it or not, in this game, which is crazy. Look at Eli Zach. Eli lost to Aiden Smith, and that's on his resume, right? And we all know Eli has those. Is he going to be motivated? Problem. Is he going to be motivated? You got to think this is the time now. If he can't be Zach, then what's the deal? He's going to have a chance right here to make a resume-building run. I'm going to have to say Eli wins this one 4-3. I'm not going to go with the foregone conclusion. I'm going to take my hats off to the CPU and say, Zach, he does play an OG style, right? And sometimes when you play an OG style and the other player tries to outsmart himself in that mentality game, it could work in Eli's favor, but it could also be against it. I'm going to go Eli 4-3. This is closer than people think. Zach will give him a scare. What says UG?
I'm looking back here at last season, and one thing that immediately pops to mind here is that Eli keeps trying to make comparisons to what happened last year. He loses round 1 we lost round 1 in tournament 3, and then he also went on to lose round 1 in tournament 4. Last year it was the Ard who was not having a great season at that point. I believe he was only 1-3 going into that matchup. And let me just double check this to make sure I'm not making a mistake here. Yeah, no, he was 1-3 going into that matchup. And listen, I don't mean to be I don't mean to give bad omens here, but you know who is 1-3 going into this matchup? Zach. So we're kind of looking at a possible similar situation here. And I don't think Zach's historically been the greatest player in this league. Didn't have a great season last year, only went 2-5, and that was off the tailbone of a late season run. I believe he was 0-3 going into tournament 4, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. But yeah, there's some bad omens going into this matchup, and I think this is one where a lot of people could predict an upset possibly happening here. But I think this is really going to come down to mentality. I think this is going to be the sole defining matter in this matchup. It's if Eli has the correct mentality, I think he will make it through. If he does not, I think that's just basically going to be how this all unravels. I went back and forth on this one. I'm gonna go with the faith that Eli has learned from his past. I guess the past mental errors. I'm gonna go for it's gonna be a bit of a scare, but I think it'll be 4-3. Um, we'll see what happens because I think this is a path, in my opinion, that gives a lot of opportunity here, and I think it will be a kind of a waste if he's not able to use any of it. So yeah, this is definitely one match you have to keep an eye out for.
We'll see how it goes. Eli had a lot of questions coming in mentality. Zach is a guy that he don't care, right? He's out here for a little bit for the vibes. He does a lot of great where he made the logo, makes all the logos, to be fair. We'll see how it goes with the creative side versus the mentality side moving in. Now, this next one, G, you would think this game would be a 4-0 or something. I don't think so. This is Fitzy on his last legs, right? He knows this is time to go. Missed the tournament this year. Chame coming in here. This is going to be a time zone nightmare, right? This is a game that you're going to have to figure out how to get this game scheduled first off. This is China-Australia battle here. It's
I mean,
not that bad
for them, it's not bad.
for us. It could be tough, right? And that's the thing, especially with what's going on with certain someone named the host coming up this week. But point is, I think Fitzy's out to lunch a little bit this season. He needs to prove his point. Chamek is a guy that's he's not wavering, right, Jay? Split ammo is all he cares about. We just never saw that against Drippy. He decided to lose a little of the mentality and just go out to lunch himself and ask for certain things. Closer than you think. Give me Chamek 4-2. I don't think Fitzy's going to go down without a fight. He knows this is his last ride on basically on D1 if he doesn't get a win here. He's got to get 2. I don't see him getting 2 wins in one tournament. It's got to be right here, right now. I think it's too late. Chamek gets it done. He's got to stay in it for Super League as well to get a double bye. What's your thoughts, G?
It's unfortunate because because at the start of the inception of this league, Zachary Fitzwater was the number one overall seed going into March of last year, and since then it's just kind of been a fall from grace, and it's been tough to watch for a lot of people who've seen him in the heyday and back in his heyday. So this is another tough draw here. Chomek's kind of been doing really well as of late. I mean, bit of not a great May, but does have a Final Four under his belt. This is a tough one. I'm sorry. I think Fitzy has some behind the scenes things going on, so I think this is unfortunately going to end like a 4-1 here. Chamek takes the win here. This is going to be a difficult situation here for Fitzy going into these last few tournaments.
It's unfortunate for Fitzwater, right? Everyone knows him as a fun-loving dude, a guy that's going to send it, right? He'll send it. He'll full send it. But a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes for him. I'm going to have to go Chamek as well. We'll both agree. Now, G, this next matchup, you can't pick. It's you.
I kind of don't want to pick it anyways.
It's just me here on this one. Look, I'm going to say this right now, G, you need this win. Right, you're making your 100th career start, and what's this been a curse? It's been a curse. I think only 2 players have won a 100th career 100 series start. It's myself and Sanford, and there's not many in that club. Everyone else has lost. You're supposed to get your 100th start in tournament 1. I think Larry Hu is more motivated, believe it or not, after that loss to Radden, or that loss to Ed. But my heart still tells me I got to go my boy G to get the job done in a game 7 and finally learns from his mistakes. I think he breaks it. He'll join the 100th win club or 100th series club, and he'll start to build a momentum. Obviously, a path that he likes is potentially ahead. We'll see. Similar to how I think you and Eli are kind of weird, same spot, just a little bit different. I think you're trying to avoid relegation. I think you get the job done, G, here. You're going to have to stay more composed in terms of just checking the table on table awareness. You probably know that after that Kevlar. I think you learned that platform and you get the 4-3 here. I got you win. I still can't see you going 0-5 this year. That'd be crazy.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Also game 1's going to be career start 100, so we're kind of already starting off with that. So we'll see how it goes. So yeah, at this point, I'm just trying not to predict the matchups. I don't think I wasn't at the seeding meeting anyway, so I didn't have any input on any of these seeds, including my own. So just kind of at this point, I'm just kind of letting the wind take me where it goes. That's really the best strategy I got going right now, and when it comes to where it takes me for each matchup. I'm just gonna go on the table and then try my best to do everything I can with what I got, even
So
if
all you
it's
can do,
not
G, you
much.
can't
Even if
control what
it's
you
not
can't
much.
control. All you can control what you can control. That's the best mindset to have. Like I said, I can't see you going 0-5. There's another player, too, that's in the similar spot. I can't see it. We'll get to that a little later. Gee, this is I
Oh
I don't
God.
even want. I don't. Even, this is another all New York battle. But why is
This
Eric a
is.
50? Why? Oh man, JT 4-0. That's it. I mean, Eric, he'll show up to this game.
No
We
thought.
think.
Oh my
What?
God. No
What?
thought. No thought in
No
that one.
thought. Nah, no thought. JT 4-0. Look, okay. Here's the. I'm gonna have this thought, right? This could be JT's season. G. We don't know what's gonna. He's getting married in T5, right? And if he doesn't build enough of a platform here, or if he goes out and round, is that enough for the year to say 7 wins is enough? I don't know if he doesn't compete in T5. That's the risk with JT. If Eric does show up, God bless him, first off. And second, he hasn't been here all season since that Vapor game. He's been a ghost. I don't have enough data to predict. I got to go JT 4-0 just off of merit. What says you?
I'm surprised he's even in the bracket. I thought he wasn't gonna be here. But
He's playing. Yeah, he's playing.
in quotation marks, we'll see. We'll see. I hope he shows up. If he shows up, I'm gonna give it a 4-1 here. I mean, Eric's kind of just not really been known well with Uno in general, so we'll see how this goes. But I think for Turner, he's really just hoping that Monaco shows up at least, because the DQ win's not gonna help him, especially if he ends up losing round two.
No, absolutely. You got to show up here for both players. Right? Eric's got to show up, and JT's got to show because let's face it, his last time we saw him, he blew a 3-0. I thought that was one of the worst losses of the two. It was self-inflicted. You had even more than Patir. You had Tapir was different, right? It was a game where he had the power play up 3-0 and just I don't know self imploded. That's just he needs to improve it right here. It's got to be it. A lot of intentions for JT, especially with T5 unknowns, needs to be here. Gee, another bi-island player making his 1C. Everybody's making their 1C debut. Ironically, is Yoshi. He was the runner-up in T3. I'm going to pose a similar question to Monkey as Yoshi. Do you think this helps or hurt him, G? Because he's making his debut not only on the island, but as a 1 seed. Now, to Monkey, I think it hurt him. For Yoshi, I also think this hurts him too. And here's why. Because he stayed on the I want to play round. I can't afford a loss. And he's got a tricky, and I mean tricky 8-9 to deal with. A lot of people think, no way, right? But it's tricky. I think this hurts him, believe it or not. He wanted to play. He already talked about expressing playing in round one. Having him not play, I don't know. And especially with the characters on Bi Island, this could affect him. I'm going to have to say this hurts him a little bit, G. He needs to win round two, or he could be in trouble as well. Your thoughts moving in here on this one with Yoshi?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this helps Yoshi very much, but we'll see how it goes. I think it's a similar situation to Monkey. Although I don't think it's as bad. He does have a final under his belt, so that's gonna help him quite a bit. But yeah, we'll see how this goes for Yoshi. I mean, interesting 8-9 to go off of the start, and then he'll probably try to go from there. But yeah, I mean, last tournament we saw all the 1 seeds go out in the round of 32. I don't think that'll happen this time, but that is something to note also to maybe keep an eye out for. Could see maybe one fall in this round. We'll see.
This next matchup, G, this is right. This could be a tricky one. Kevin Ellison, both guys really interesting. Kev in no man's land, 2-win season, had the win against obviously yourself, but then just lost the platform against Monkey. Ellison should have beat Brad. Who knows how far? He could have easily beat JT. He easily should be a 3 or 4-win player. Ellison sneaky G. I think he's figured something out similar to Brian, right? And a little bit to Myth. He's figured something out here where he's looked different. We know he historically hates Draw City, but with the way the bot's working, that's almost what you want. You almost want to hate Draw City right now, which is weird. Because of the new meta, I have to go Ellison 4-3. He's going to get this one. They both know each other from the NR community. This is something I can only really talk about. May Sanford. They know each other from different community. They both express a rivalry game amongst each other. Because of that, I'm going Ellison 4-3. I think he could really scare Yoshi too, because Yoshi had talked about Ellison could be a scary player. I'm going Ellison. He gets the win and moves on to get to the second win of the season. What says UG?
Did Ellison have? No, wait. Hang on. Let me wait. I just need to double check. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just check. Yeah. James Ellison is at 1-3. I thought he was at 2-3 for some reason, but Kev's at 2-3. But I think this is a matchup where this really will come down to Game 7 no matter what way you look at it. I'm going to go the opposite way here. I'm going to go with Kev. Kev kind of like, I think both these players are just kind of like, they just do what they have, and just go from there. And in my opinion, this really comes down to what they draw. So this is basically a game of roulette, in my opinion. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm just gonna go with Kev 4-3 here because I think this is really just gonna come down to that.
Well, this next matchup, G, unpredictability for sure is how you describe this. When you look at ALP, he's the most unpredictable man alive. Who knows? We talked about the old thing I won't say what he did the last time we saw him, and then we got Bowtie, who I guess forgot to show up against Ghost. I don't know, wasn't there for that one. Even watching back, just some interesting maneuvers. I know Bowtie's had success in the past. Later in the season, we saw him beat the eventual world champion Yepes in T5. He needs to bring it here. I don't see enough. ALP is just too unpredictable. It's hard to read. I hate to say it, G. I know it's gonna sound bad, but I don't think this game is gonna be a game where we know ALP now. We won't know much until he gets to the second round. Even then, you look at his path. It might have to come down if Yoshi gets by. It might have to come down to that game where we finally will know a little bit about ALP. He's so hard to read. I don't think round 1 or 2, even if he does win this game or the second round, will tell us a lot about him. He's on the bubble, 15th coming in. I got ALP 4-2. I think Bo will give a little bit more of a challenge, but ALP is just too unpredictable. What says you?
I'm sorry, I'm just deep in thought here because this is a weird one because I don't think Bowtie's had a great season, but he is also someone who is very dangerously close to the relegation line. I believe he is 50th going into this tournament, so not a lot of breathing room there. Um, but no, he's no wait. No, he's 49th. Apologies, my correction, but still that's not much better. That's not much better. But um, the problem though for me is that the plan is all over the place because March round of 16, April out in the first round, May round of 16. To me, I think there's a bit of a pattern going on here, and it's just really interesting because it's based on how you want to read this, right? Do you believe in patterns like that existing, or do you believe in just coincidences? That's the real thing here. And I mean, I bring this up because we get a slight sidestep here. We're talking about the Copa America. I know this sounds a bit out of the ordinary, but let me just trust me on this. The U.S. has kind of had like a bit of a trend going on with how they play in the Copa America. The first Copa America they were in, they got grouped. The second Copa America they were in, they made it to the semifinals. And then the third Copa America they were in, they got grouped. The fourth Copa America they were in, they made it to the semifinals. And then the fifth and most recent one they were in, which is this year, they got grouped, which side rant, fire Berhalter. He needs to be out. But that's besides the point. To me, if we're talking about someone that I could compare to the U.S. men's national team for soccer, I think it's the plan. And it's kind of all over the place. So I'm crazily enough picking Bowtie to win this 4-3 because I think LaPlante's all over the place, and I fully expect LaPlante to make the round of 16 in Tournament 5. Like, I don't know why. It's like a weird feeling I have with how it goes with him. I feel like he's got like a pattern thing going down, so that's what I'm going with. But any thoughts on that, KT? I know that was a bit of a mouthful.
I think he's going to put a little bit. I think he's going to have a couple cherry Sharpies definitely lying around. And I think he's going to huff them before the game a little bit. I think this time maybe he learned something when he huffed those. Maybe I got to do it the whole tournament. I think those Sharpies could be a good luck charm. That's what my thoughts are after hearing your rant. Now, all joking aside, right? Look, he has to start taking this a little bit more serious. Think about it. He was supposed to be in D2. Right? Him and Ashley were supposed to be in D2. I have to tell you that story. But they were supposed to be in D2. Right? They weren't even supposed to be here. They've been on house money since the start of the year. Right? Because of that, he was the 60th, right? He beat Peter, and everyone was so excited. I think he's going to realize, what Super League's in reach now. I can't afford a loss to Bowtie. I can't afford a loss to his next 5-12 coming in. I think he's going to figure it out, right? You can't tell me from what I've seen from both. I know the meta's been bizarre. I just can't see it when you were out to lunch against Ghost. You were out to lunch against who was his one win? Rogers. You were out to lunch against Sanford or Sweet. I don't see it, but I could be wrong, right? I could be because of the meta, right? Who knows? ALP is a guy that will get card luck. He does usually in round ones. We saw it against Brock, notably, and against Peter when it was normal. He just outplayed him. I don't know. We'll see. This is interesting. I can't read that one, but if the upset happens, I'll gladly shake her hand and say, hey, I was wrong. But I don't know. I just think the Sharpies might be something to look into. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Could be a wild one in store.
I think we need to put the Sharpies away here. I don't think we need any more of that, to be honest.
I hear you, man. I understand. That's his old war cry, right? But anyway, speaking of this next match,
Wouldn't be the only one in this league.
No, there's multiple. Let's not go there. Let's go to Carson Logan. Carson had an interesting tournament, right? You look at Carson. He had that loss to Zay, which was a game I remember short calling, and I was in the pool. I was commentating from the pool because he needed someone last minute. And I remember Carson just being a little bit off kilter on power play. Used it early. His style is very precise. It's a working window, which if he hits the window, he's on it. If he doesn't, he's off it. We saw it against Brady where he was off it. We saw it against Fitzy where he was on. We saw it against Caesar. It's very working window-esque. Logan had that one win against Nam. He's got a lot of scandals, though, behind the scenes that we're not going to discuss. I think he's cleaned that up, but still, I think Carson is a little bit more in the upper echelon of the 3-win people. We had him close to the 30 line. He needs to do this right now. He's got a good path ahead of him to make the run. He gets the win. The K-Dog gets it. Carson is 4-2. He beats Logan in a closer game than people think. What says UG?
Logan's kind of another player who, in my opinion, is a bit hard to read right now. I mean, he does have that one win on the season. Looking at his record right now, he's 8-14. He is currently, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he is 47th on the grid right now. So he's kind of in danger right now of relegation here, and he's got to keep an eye out here. Those game wins are really going to matter for him. So every single game win could make a difference. But I think Carson wins. It's really just about what the score is going to be. For me, Carson's kind of like either does really well or does really poorly. I mean, we saw in April got swept by Myth. You could have a few discussions about how that game actually really went down, but nonetheless, that's going to be what the score sheet says. Then beat Fitzy 4-0, and then lost to Zay 4-3 in May. So it's kind of an interesting one to read. I'm going to just go straight down the middle here. I'm going to say 4-2 Carson. Logan does get 2 wins here to help him out. Obviously, he wants that series win, but I just think Carson's a bit too much of a challenge to overcome here. So give me Carson.
All right, Carson 4-2. Can we see Carson ALP? This be a friendly game there. Will we see a bow tie Carson? We'll see. Gee, this is probably one of the hardest draws to get in round one. It's H versus Nam. You look at Nam, a lot is coming in, riding on each other. A lot coming in about what his mentality will be. What's the Nam we're going to see? We had the vacation, like I said. That vacation has to be the thing that locks and keys his mentality. Because if he doesn't do it here against one of the hardest guys to play in round one, who's historically, despite not having the best season, can turn up and be streaky at any point, who has a style where he can play streaky. Nam is a guy that plays more off kilter. I don't know, man. I'm just gonna have to go with Nam here because the CPU says 4-3, but this is going to go either way. I mean, Nam cannot afford a loss, right? He loses to H. Forget the Super League. Mentality could be destroyed. It's a mentality-changing game. It's got to be Nam, and I think the winner of this game could get far realistically looking at the path. It's kind of an interesting region. I'll go Nam here, but I'm not confident in this one. This is like a 50.1 to 49.9 G. It's very close for me, for sure.
H is definitely someone you're looking at in this relegation battle here, and he's going to be very motivated to try to get this win here. And then you look at Nam, who's kind of in a bit of a kind of in a free fall right now. Needs to find something to break that and get back climbing on top here. I think the problem is we're going against this is I'm losing my train of thought here. I'm sorry. My main point here is that both of these players, I think, when it comes down to one aspect, and that's the mental game, I think they're complete opposites. H is locked in, really hard to get him off his game. He is focused to the core. Nom's just all over the place. I mean, one slight distraction and it gets unravels to complete chaos. We saw this last tournament, had a slight misstep, and then it just kind of unravels pretty much for him. I think if he gets down early, the series is over. Nom has to be up early in this series, otherwise I don't think he's going to win this one. And I actually think H gets ahead to an early 3-1, and that's going to end up being the costly blow for him. And I'm probably going to say that H wins this 4-2. Again, I have not seen enough from Nam here to make me think that the mentality issues are going away, and I think with how this game goes, that can play a very big part in this league. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to do one of your hopefuls here at KT, but I think the downward spiral unfortunately continues.
I did say, G, the one thing I did say is that vacation better have came in clutch, right? It comes down to what did he learn on vacation? What did he learn when he was in those mountains out there? If he learned the ways of being patient and staying on the game and staying locked in, he'll be good. If he didn't, then we're gonna have to start having questions, right? Forget Super League. It's just when's he gonna get that back? When's he gonna get that March rhythm back? That's really what he needs. This next one, G. Oh man, this is closer than people think. I know you might think there's no way, Kay. I think Sam England could actually get this one to 7. I'm going Clay in 7, and here's why I'm going to go Clay. Is I don't think Clay liked the fact that he lost his 100th game in a sweep in a 5. I think that pisses him off. But I know Clay like the back of my hand. I know him personally. He likes the pressure when it's just legit win or go home. This isn't a technical win or go home yet. Because why? T5 is lurking. I think he cooks in T5. I'm not sure if he'll cook this tournament because that's just I know him from the back of my hand. He'll win this game 4-3. England's going to give him problems. I know England's been on a downward spiral too. I believe he's only won
2 games. Only
2 games since the dark win, right? So that just tells you that he's ready to break out in a way. He could break at any moment. And if you look at it, I'm going to say Clay wins 4-3, but he knows what's coming. I know him personally. T5 is exactly where he'll cook. I think he'll do the same thing he did last year. He's one of the only players in the league that could leave it late and make the run. I'm going Clay 4-3, closer than people think. What says UG?
I think this is the problem for Sam England here. He's 51st on the grid right now, only 6 wins. Every single game win's going to matter here if he does not get this series win. So that's really going to be what he's focusing on right now. And I think the really big problem here is since the win against Dark, he has gone, what's it called? Let me just check here because I'm trying to make sure I'm not making a mistake here. Yeah, 4-3. I mean, that Dark, he won 4-3 against Dark, and I mean, since then, looking at the resume, he's gone 2-12 in games, which is not good. It's one of the worst in the league. And Dark is the only player he's played so far who has gone to his style. Clay does not typically like that longer marathon-based style here. There's very few players in this league who do that. So I think, again, this is a problem where Sam can go up against the people who play similar to his style, but when it's someone who doesn't want to roll with that, he has a very hard time. I unfortunately think this is going to be a situation where Sam England's going to be very dangerous close to the relegation line, maybe even below it if some of the 0-win people win. I have Clay winning in a 4-1 here. I just don't see many good things to come from Sam England here. He has not shown me enough to tell me that he's got something else cooking up his sleeve besides trying to run games long.
We'll see. It's going to be a game, and we know Clay, if he gets the win, he has to start thinking about that match ahead, and we know he's good in the pressure, right? We're just not there yet. Where T5 is the ultimate pressure cooker. We're just not there. We'll see what he can do in August, but I think Clay needs to get the win here to keep his resume alive, really. Well, gee, this guy up here on the board is the number 18th ranked player. Toaster Guy, Crikey, Final Four versus probably one of the guys you don't want to face in round one because, let's face it, G.
Or do you?
I don't really know. Matt Johnson, 7 games every time. Does Mac have the power play game locked in? The computer's got the upset saying Mac 4-3. I think deep down, my heart says Toasty's going to win this game. I say the only reason why Pac will win is he figured out the power play. And he's playing a guy that doesn't have the most power style. He's coming in a little bit higher than ever as a 7 seed, higher expectations. I say Pac gets it done. It's gonna be probably like a championship celebration for Pac if he wins, G, because everyone's waiting for this guy to win a game. But I'm going to have to go Pat Johnson here. 4-3. Going to be a close one for sure.
I'm going to be so sorry to everyone, but I have this in a very cruel twist of fate. I have Toaster Guy winning 4-3. I think Mac's going to come up short in 7 again. I mean, I feel like Mac always goes to 7, and then at Game 7, just something goes wrong. It's a tough situation, but yeah, for me, it's kind of just Toaster Guy is kind of on a burner right now. I think, of course, Mac makes this close, but again, it's something about that Game 7, just something just not good right for Mac. And I unfortunately, again, I said it before, in a cruel twist of fate, I think he once again loses in 7. So give me Toaster Guy 4-3.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Toaster Guy, he's coming off that Final Four run. We've seen Boomer bust in the Final Four appearances in the past. We'll see what happens here. And then, G, the last guy. Well, not the last guy, but the last guy in this region that is going to be on bye. It's the same. This is an ultimate hurt moment here for Vapor. He unfortunately loses out big time because his resume is it's not there, right? And him not playing that's just another. I mean, sure. If you think about it, if you lose to a 15 seed, might hurt you, for sure. But he needs reps. He needs reps, and not getting reps at all is just not. That's not the move. I think I have to say this is probably the ultimate hurt job from Vapor G. I don't think this is where you want to be. On Bye Island, he's going to have a buddy with him and multiple buddies that maybe he can get lost in the shuffle. I think this is the ultimate hurt job, G. I'm gonna have to say this could be tough for Vapor. He could be in trouble round 2. What says you?
I mean, based off where this is and Vapor being a 2 seed on Bio Island, I mean, there's 6 people on Bio Island here. Just spoiler. So the 1 and 2 seeds for the last region are also on Bio Island. And he is technically the 6th overall seed. In my opinion, of the 6, he is far and away no contest the one that gets hurt by this the most. This is not what he needs at all. He needs to be playing in this first round here. And the fact that he's not going to be able to is quite the trouble, because I think the problem is I don't think he's going to be able to make a run here. I really don't. And even if he wins his first round, this side of the bracket for him is very tough. And he's not really shown enough to me to think that he can make a run all the way to the regional finals. Of course, he could prove me wrong, but I just have not seen enough from Vapor here. This is a very bad situation for Vapor here.
Yeah, and Vapor, he knows coming into this year, it was all about just figuring out a way to be in it in T5. He says he's got something cooked for T5. I don't know, man. I know he did well last year, but Clay's the only guy we can say that has that itch factor in T5, which we'll talk about. Yeah.
Okay, wait a second. So he said he has something cooking in Tournament 5?
Yeah, it's August Vapor. That's what he told me.
Well, I got some bad news here. We're in Tournament 4 right now, buddy, so that's not really boding well for this.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's interesting with Vapor. We'll see how he does. And let's go to that last region. He's going to get his boy Christian Tago. Similar spot to Yo. I think he's going to have that 4+4s hanging over his head, G. Right? He's going to have that 4+4s hanging over his head. And, I don't think he wants to be on a bye either. I don't think the only 2 people are the first and the last guy we met. The first guy, Brad, okay. He had a crazy run. Probably deserves the bye, right? East doesn't mind. I don't think these guys that are on the 1 line or even Vapor need the bye. This hurts him too. Where it says here, he needs to shake that off. He can't shake it off right away. He's got to wait an extra couple, and he's got a tough pod coming in. It's probably one of the hardest 8-9 pods to think about. What's your thoughts on Tago? You think he needed this play, or you with me? This hurts him too because he needs to shake that rust off.
Yeah, quick comment on the 8-9s here. I mean, I think they kind of vary in terms of how much skill all of them have, but I think for all these one seeds, they're going to play a very difficult challenge for different reasons because I think they kind of clash with what they usually are expecting. But I think for Tago, I mean, obviously Tago doesn't want the bye here. He definitely would rather be playing in this first round here to kind of get a bit of a shake off here. But I don't know. This could work both ways. This could be a double-edged sword. I mean, obviously, round 30, our bike bites the round 32 here, but could give a little more extra time to decompress in terms of off the table. But I feel like he needs a bit of reassurance on the table here. So we'll see how it goes. This is really going to have to come down to what happens in round 32. If he can comfortably get through the round 32, I think he's got the monkey off his back. But if not, the big problems here going into tournament 5.
Yeah, G, if you like big names, this is the region for huge names in this region. A lot of people that you would think would be in the Super League hunt but are not, and some that are that you're not supposed to be. Let's start with the biggest, probably the biggest name that's not in Super League, in my opinion, that everyone thought should have been in Super League was William Brock. Because you look at Brock, he's been a force. We remember him back in 2018, the old Via. He's been a force in this game. It has not been the season. And then you got the chess master, who really cooks late in the year too, in Dark, right? This is going to be a game of endurance, a game that really will put out to see who can put in the most work, probably around that hour mark, because you know it's going to go along with Dark Rain in the area. This is a tough one, G. You've been high on Brock since the start of the year. I'm also still going to say Brock gets the job done. I think the ammo control has to be the number one thing. For William Brock, the ammo control needs to be there. And if it's not there, he'll lose, but it is going to be there for once. I'm going to go Brock 4-3 here, but I couldn't be shocked if Dark wins. This is Dark Rain after all. What says you?
For me, you're right. I've been high on Brock, but I've got to be honest, this has been one of the most disappointing seasons so far, and I could be a bit harsh with that since he is technically just a rookie, but I was expecting a lot more going into the season. 3-2 for me, 3-3 for me is just not cutting it. So I think he needs to make a run here. Otherwise, this could be just a season of missed opportunity here. I'm just going to go with Brock 4-1 here because I think Dark's kind of just in a complete disarray right now. I think he's just not mentally locked in, which is a problem because with the way he's playing, the chess style that he likes to call it, that's not good. He needs to make sure he's all mentally focused, mentally in, make sure he's still in the game, both figuratively and literally. It's not looking great right now, and I have not seen anything to disprove that. So I think for Brock, this is going to be something where he's just going to have to play the cards right, get the job done. It's going to be 4-1 here. So
we'll see how it goes. Dark is a guy that can turn up. We know he's really good historically late in the season. He does play a chess style. We'll see how it goes for Dark. I wouldn't count him out. That's why I think 4-3 is more reasonable. But you never know. We'll never know. It's going to go long for sure. Well, gee, I talked about in the last podcast, Cody Lamas needs those polished characters. He's getting one of the most unpolished characters in the league in Retro. This is going to be a scary game for him. He knows if he gets past this one, though, I like his path. Retro plays this ridiculous style where he just wants to table talk to death. Cody has seen that with Clint already. I think he has the experience. I got Cody 4-2. It says 4-1 from the C. I think Retro will get a little bit on him, but Cody's too much, man. He's a guy that's just going to stay locked in, loaded, and he knows there's a rivalry game potentially waiting ahead. I'm going Cody Lamas here 4-2. I've been high on him. I was still high on Cody till the day it's over. What says you?
In my opinion, I think this is a very similar round 1 that he got from last tournament. Maybe not to that level, but this could be a form of redemption here for Lamas here. Maybe correct some of the wrongs that happened in May. I think he will be able to do that, but I think he will have some scares at times. I'm going to go with 4-2 here. Retro is kind of just all over the place. I have no idea what Retro is doing right now. I mean, I'm pretty sure they only have they have a DQ. They have a DQ win here, so technically 2-3 in the season. They're kind of in a weird spot when it comes to the relegation battle. I personally think they're fine because the DQ wins are kind of like a weird thing where it counts, but like it puts you all the way to the bottom. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I don't know what Retro's doing, to be honest. He's done nothing since March.
Yeah, Retro Avenue, it's not looking pretty golden on the old avenue there. We'll see how he does, though. Come T4 here against Cody. Gee, this is a tough one to even think about. This is similar to you. Farragold at 0-3, the Super League runner-up versus Myth, who was supposed to being D2, many thought, right, at the beginning of the year. He was checked out. Now he's in Super League contention. Varigol's not even sniffing that.
I mean, last year you would think the seats are flipped here, but
Yeah.
no, it's 5 Myth, 12 Varigold, so.
Keep in mind, Varigol was supposed to be a 14. We just lost people, right? He should have been a 14 Myth. If we hadn't lost people, it should have been a 6. So this is probably going to be a potential round 2 anyway. I don't know, man. I mean, I have to go with the CPU and go with the upset and Varigol. See, Varigol's checked out, though. When you're checked out and asking for certain things on the table, especially more and longer series, it's not coming. It just isn't. I'll go with Varigol. I think Mitt's got way too much momentum. I think he could easily win this game and set that rivalry between him and Cody for Florida. But I'll go Varigol just because the CPUs. I have to. The only thing that would make me say Varigol will win this game, Gene, there's only one slight of hope is Myth. He has monster hands, and what if they're gone? Right? What if those monster hands disappear, they vanish, and the bot's actually going to behave? Then you have to think Varigol would have the advantage, who plays that style where he's looking for more of those long runs naturally. What says you, G? It's a tough. I'll go Varigol 4-3, but I'm not confident in this match at all.
I'm sorry. I just don't. I just don't think the monster hands are gonna go away. We've seen with this bot, the contracts expired. They're not coming back next year. The bot's kind of been all over the place. And it's not just even here. Other leagues as well. UUL's been having some issues with the bot as well, and it's just the monster hands, the general 80-20s. And the thing is, Myth rides the low card roulette, and that's really worked out well for him. And it worked out well for him in May. That's what he ran with. He even beat one of the players who pretty much innovated that kind of play style in this league. So the problem is I don't see that stopping, and I think for Gold that's not really going to be very helpful for him. I unfortunately think this goes a 4-1, not because Gold it plays bad or anything. I just think Myth kind of gets those monster hands and just kind of runs it down. This has been a very tough season for Gold here, and I don't think this is a great draw based on how the meta is going right now.
Yeah, you're cutting out there. All good. This is rough, man. You know, it's tough to see a Super League runner-up, a guy that has had a lot of respect in this league, just go to 0-4. It would be unfathomable to think that Gold goes to D2, because let's face it, G, if he goes to D2, that's putting, I don't know, that's putting KFB in the Xfinity Series. That's a little hard to comprehend right there for me. I don't know, especially with him on the new bot. He's going to be lethal next year. It just has to come in time where he gets a win or two and stays up here. This next match, G, I don't know. This one, you would think Charles Sanford in any given year would like to think this is a 4-0 or something. Aiden Smith just beat Eli, of all people, and then lost to Yoshi. He has this round 1 magic. Sanford's in trouble here. He has expressed that this bot is not good for him. He's been frustrated. This is not the same Charles. One of the worst resumes coming in the league at 4 wins, but really 3. He'll win this game at 7, but that's all I can say. This is just not. This is not Charles Sanford, man. I think next year he'll cook on the new bot, but he's got a hard road ahead of him. He's got to win this game, but I don't have any confidence in Sanford anymore. As much as I still think he's the man, and he will be the man next year because he's talked about how he's going to get card history tab where he can memorize the cards. He'll be great next year. This year he's not a guy that gets lucky. Aiden's a guy that gets lucky. He'll get the win off a power play. That's the only thing that saves him. Smith will lose just on a power play. Sanford 4-3-7 on a power play. What do you says, UG? This is a tough one to predict too.
Yeah, I have Sanford winning 4-2 here, but I actually think this is one of the few people here where this is just a lame duck season here. I think Sanford's not really trying to focus much on the Super League battle anymore. I think he knows he's in a very tough spot to begin with. Might be a point where, depending on how this goes, maybe he has a good run here in Tournament 4. Maybe Tournament 5 gives him more of a chance, but I mean, like, if he loses in the next round here, and I think there's a possibility that does happen. I think Tournament 5 is just going to be on the back burner and just try to focus for next season because, again, I mean, he's just kind of not had it this year. And not even just like experimentation. He hasn't really even done any experimentation in the first place because he's just been kind of in a hole since post Tournament 2. It's just, yeah, I don't know. This is kind of the up in the season Sanford's been hoping for. Again, I classify as a lame duck season here, but we'll see what happens. I think he wins this. I think he wins this one, but in my opinion, I don't see him going much further.
Gee, you cut out. You there?
Yeah, I'm there.
You
It's
cut.
pro-
You
it's
cut out.
probably it's probably just on your end. So
Oh, okay. That's my fault.
yeah.
All good. All good. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's tough to see Sanford like this, right? Because we know he's a good player. I mean, the only thing I can look at, G, I know card luck and that. I've been a guy I really don't believe in it. I said even against when I lost the set, I just needed one card. It's not card luck to me. When you need one card, is different. When you need 20, yeah. I don't know if the mentality. I think it still will be there, and it has to be there at a certain point because the next guy coming in this match is kind of in a similar spot. He's had the most time on the bot. The new bot, him and me, have had the most time, and it's Caesar versus Brando. I mean, gee, how many times have we said in the last year? We could probably write this and put on a sticky wall here. When is he going to get that big win? It's not happening this game. We know that's not for sure. You got to think the Sanford game is kind of more of a playoff game. I think Caesar wins. We both have been critical of him and high on him at the same time. Where he needs to get them. He's got the tools. Unfortunate stuff. Internet issues. The ALP game, you don't wish on nobody. Where he just couldn't do much with the Wild. Felt like he was playing 3-on-1. He's got to win against Brando has no business being here. He's 3-12 on the year. He hasn't won a game. Actually, I think he's literally 0-12 since that Clay 3-0 up. I think he was up 3-0 against Clay. He hasn't done anything since. I mean, Caesar's got to win. He's not giving up on this season. He knows that he has the mentality game. He's a guy that loves racing, loves bike racing too. One of the toughest guys I know. He just got to the commission team. I'm going Caesar 4-1. I think he wins this game and he starts building a platform where he needs to make the run now. He can't rely on T5, and he's already talked about that. What says you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm mainly going with Caesar here because Brando has not really done much for me this year. He's one of those 0-win guys who's kind of looking for a win. But the problem is he's 3-12 in game records, not really doing too well for the most part. And I mean, if we look at how those 3-game wins were distributed, didn't got swept in May, and then then got swept in April as well. He had a decent start to the year, got all 3 of those wins in March, and has been 0-8 since then. So, not much to really show for here. And I think Caesar's in a tough spot. I think Caesar's had a relatively disappointing year, but I think these are the games where Caesar can get through pretty easily. I don't know if I'm going to go for 3 sweeps in a row for Brando. That would be really bad, but I'm going to go with like a 4-1 here. Again, Brando's in a really bad spot here. I don't know where he goes from this point.
It's tough for Brando, right? He's a guy that came into the year more as a mid-pack player, we thought, and he hasn't delivered. Ever since he had those monster hands against Clay, it just hasn't been. It hasn't been the season. It's going to happen. Gee, we got to the last matchup now, and
Well,
this is the.
actually, let's do the Bye Island really quick because I'd like to end on a matchup here. So let's cover the Bye Island really quickly.
Oh yeah. This guy. He makes his 3rd Bye Island appearance. He's back on the island with a bunch of kids. Well, let's see, KT. I need this one, G. 100%. Here's why. I
I
have
agree.
a personal issue coming up. I will not be running this league for 2 days, unfortunately. It's been weighing down on me since May, since that bow tie ghost game, really, that May 22nd. When ever since then, it's been kind of a nightmare for me. I need this. Thank God. How critical was that March finale now, G? Think about this. If I don't get that March finale win, I don't know where I'd be. I'd still be in the hunt. I'm the number 1 player in this league. I need this bye. I need it. I need some time off to just get this over with. I don't mind. Now I have to buy. April is different, right? I just don't like T2. I can't stand it. Even though I picked I can't stand it. This is different. We're in the later of the season now. I need a break. This is great for me. Get a little mental reset. I'm the one guy with Brad that can afford it. So anything to add there? I'm glad to be on the island this time, G, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you don't really lose much anyways because Ashley's not in this tournament, so you're not really at risk of losing a game or a series advantage or anything like that. Although you are 1 series win behind Ashley, but yeah, I think you're fine right now. You do have the tournament winner, which obviously helps, so you have no issues about making Super League. Yeah, and then again, you mentioned that issue. You've told me about it numerous times. I think that's good to get that all settled out. Then you'll be locked in and ready to focus for the rest of the year. So Yeah, again, we talked about it before. There's two players that I think really benefit from Fire Island, and then you have like four players who vary in range of not really benefiting. So, KT, you got a really good benefit here. But with that said, let's discuss the last matchup here that will determine your round 32 opponent.
Yeah, and it's going to be the first King of March, as he likes to call himself, versus Zay. And this is, this is probably the hardest game to predict, and here's why. Zay is a guy that literally said on the table, the bot made the difference. That's the kind of comments I'm not a fan of, right? Because you got to think that really shows there's an issue going on. There's definitely something changed. And then you also have him. He was leaving midstream during set. He just left.
Yeah.
And then we talked, and you've been very critical of Peter all year, right? When's Peter? Peter hasn't shown up since Super League. This is brutal to pick.
Yeah,
Because
he has one win on the year also, and I would argue he didn't even show up for that game either.
right, his one win on the year. Who was it against?
It was against Mac.
Mac. Yeah, but that's a rivalry game, right? Where records don't matter. It's been the best rivalry in the sport. Won 14 max. This is the tough one, G. You know, I really think it would be the first time in league history that we would have two defending champions of a specific tournament meeting up. I think it will happen. I'm going to go Peter in 7, but this is my last ride for Peter. If he can't beat Zay, with the number efficiency he's talked about and loved, his dear number efficiency against the guy that is the exact opposite. He just looks for rainbow combos. That's all he looks for. You would think that's going to give Peter the edge. I know Zay's got more to play for in Super, but Peter's just, we don't think he's going to get relegated, but at the same time, he just needs to get a win to get back in the hunt. We've seen what he will do in 2025. He'll cook. He gets the win here. It sets up the first time in league history a first and second King of March battle with myself, which will be interesting to say the least. What says you?
Yeah, in terms of relegation, I think he's okay on the games win. He 10 and 15, obviously not great, but it's one of the higher ones of the one win category, so I think he's okay there. But I've been incredibly disappointed from Peter this year. I actually think he's one of the people who's getting the most exposed from these new rules. He's just, it's not been a great adaptation to it, and it's kind of shown. So obviously Zay with the midstream leave was not great. But they've surprised me a little bit. I thought they were going to be one of those people who were more towards the bottom, but they've actually had a relatively okay season so far. Solid 3-3, 19-18 game record, a little better than I thought they were going to do. I think they've had a nice season so far, and I think with how it's gone, in my opinion, I think they're the one that's better suited in this matchup. I actually have Zay winning 4-2 here. Again, I think Peter's really not been able to adapt to these rules, and it's just going to continue. And it's a real shame to see because I thought that Peter was going to do more this season, but he has just been absolutely nowhere to be found.
It's tough to see too, G, because think about the 3 actual winners of tournaments this year have not delivered from last year. We have guys we can't. We exclude those. The guy that won twice. We exclude him. You know, you look at Peter from March, nowhere. You look at Gold from Teeth, nowhere. Yepez is the one guy that's hanging on by a thread, and he's been nowhere all season in a way. It's been rough for the 2023 guys. You just wonder, we talked about this, is the rules package being a little different or massively different. You wonder if that starts to affect people. Well, and that's a perfect segue into topic 2. I just want to talk about the pressure. We're going to talk more about the pressure mentality T5. That's where it really kicks off, where we start getting those playoff games. Well, G, you know, you've been in playoff games before, right? We all know in Super League when you had that massive playoff game with me in you know, the Week 5 battle. But before that, in regular season, we both had, right? You had that, how to weigh it out against Clay when you lost in T5 and the pressure built. I was one card away from losing against H, not even making Super League last year. I would have been out. Talk to me about the pressure mentality. Obviously, we've both been there, done that. We have to do it again. Maybe not me this time because I'm locked into the regular season with the win, but you have to do it again this year with the pressure mentality. Talk to me about how that builds and how it affects everyone differently and how it affects you specifically. We're trying to, well, I think what it was, diversify the topics on the show. I think it's a good first diversified topic, just more of a mentality check. That's what everyone talks about in this league. It's one of the few leagues that has that for sure, like a sports atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of just how it goes, but really going to be interesting to see how this first round ends up. But overall, I don't know. I don't know how many upsets I predicted. I think there's going to be maybe 10 at least. So we'll see how that goes. I think there's going to be something that both of us didn't predict that we're not going to see coming.
I mean, that's really what will be. The pressure mentality will start to cook for the topic too. I just wanted a general view. You know, G, I think everyone handles pressure differently, but the way I see it, you look at the players in Super League, they're going to be, right now, currently, and they're going to be more expectations are going to build up, right? Things start to mount. How do they handle it? Not just the pressure on the table, but off the table, knowing they're in this spot. And you got the guys that have nothing to lose, right? That have no pressure in a way. Just it's going to send it, right? 2-win guys, maybe 1-win guys with a lot of wins, not in relegation territory. They're going to send it. Then you got the guys who are more in the bubble, but outside bubble 3 to 4, they have to play a little bit of people watching. It's an interesting time of the year. Everyone handles it differently. I'm looking forward to seeing what the pressure will build on. Those guys in the bubble, like ALP, for example, up here. And you have the people at the back who have no wins, Brando Allen. Who knows what they could do, or have had minimal wins this year. Who the heck knows what's going to happen with guys like G and Gold, who've been veterans of the league and just have had tough luck. I wonder what will happen, Gene, the pressure when it builds in. We'll see how it goes entering T4, and we'll definitely talk more about this T5 when, at that point, every game is a playoff game for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Gene, well, yeah, go for it.
Well, I mean, we were just like topic 2, and then just kind of like breezing past. I think we should talk about this a little more here because I think really the pressure depends based on where you are, and to me, it's kind of like a scale. I don't know if you've seen this one of these images before, but it's kind of like
Send it to me, G. Go for it.
it's kind of like you know how when you used to do maybe if you did a little statistics in school, you'd have one of those charts here where it's kind of like a hill in the middle and then it kind of goes down and it's based off the standard deviation. So you kind of got like the 64%, then the 95%, then like the 98.7%, something like that. To me, in my opinion, you kind of have to inverse it here because when you're on the top end of the scale, I think there's actually a decent bit of pressure. Not that, no, not that one. No.
Okay, I'm looking for it.
Hang on a second. Let me pull this up for you.
Yes, G. I need a visual. I'm not the.
Yeah. Excuse me for a second. We're just gonna be pulling this up here.
No, G. The reason why I went off the top, I thought you were gonna talk about it, so I just breezed past it.
Nah. I think this is a good conversation. This one.
Okay.
So I'd say flip it on its head here.
Okay.
So if you're on towards the top, I actually think there's a decent bit of pressure, and here's why. You're kind of in that top seed spot right now, and you want to be able to keep it. However, you could very easily lose that if a few things don't go your way in this last few tournaments, because especially if like you lose in the round of 32 or like you go one and done, then you're in a real problem because you want that double bye. You want to avoid the group stage, and if you fall out of that, that becomes a real concern. And winning a tournament does not keep you safe from that. You could win a tournament and still have to be in the group stage. So I think for a lot of those guys on top, the pressure is really there just to make sure they stay on top and they still have those runs, still have those wins to make sure that they prove that they're the best in the league. Because if you just have that tournament win and bail out, that's not going to bode well for you because then you're going to have to go through more games. And with how this bot has got bid so far this season, that could be a bit of a problem for you. And then you kind of go to the other side, obviously, with the people at the relegation table. Those people don't want to go down to D2. A lot of them, I would say, are very worried about going down to D2. And really, these last 2 tournaments are going to be pressure of getting a series win. And then when it goes from there, once you get that series win, if you do get it, then it really becomes just trying to make that late dash to Super League if you can. Because at this point, a lot of these guys at the bottom, it's pretty much must win at this point. Because otherwise their Super League's done. It really depends on where these people are looking for. Like, are they looking to just get out of the relegation zone, or are they looking to maybe make a last dash to get into Super League? Because I think a few of these people, like Varigold and whatnot, are still looking to try to make Super League, even if they're really, really far out of it right now. The real interesting thing is the people in the middle here, because I actually think they're the only people who have zero pressure, and I think they're actually in the best spot right now to possibly make these runs here. And I'm looking at these people mainly in the 2-win column here. So we're looking at people like Lane Sanders, Nick, Dark Rain, Zay, Zay has 3 wins. And then Kev as well.
Retro. Yeah.
Retro, I guess, as well. That's a bit of an asterisk. M's not here, of course. But you notice it. There's not a lot of people who have 2 wins only. And you can make an argument for some of these 3 wins people, but I really look at the 2-win people because they're kind of just, they're safe from relegation, but they're not really in that Super League conversation. They kind of just are there for do whatever. And a lot of those people are kind of just all vibes players here because you look, Lane, Kev, Dark especially are just kind of there for the vibes. And I think that actually bodes really well for them to make it a potential run. Obviously, some of them are playing each other, so not all of them are going to make a run, but To me, I think those are the people you got to keep an eye out for because those are the people with no pressure right now because they're not in any battle right now. And to me, I think that's the best spot you want to be in if you want to make a deep run. To me, you have to look at those people possibly because they make a run with no pressure and then suddenly they're suddenly in Super League. And I think that's a huge advantage they have going into this tournament compared to the rest of the field. What do you think of that? What do you think about that?
Well, it's called bid stealing, G, right? We talked about bid stealing. We talk about every year. What's usually not this year, I'm pretty sure, but most every year. What's the last race in the old chase, right? Daytona, right? Daytona is coming, but right now I think Daytona for the 2-win guys starting out. They know it. What are we gonna do? Checkers and records, right? We win, great. We lose, okay, right? There's nothing to lose for those guys. When you have nothing to lose, house money mentality, it changes your approach. When you have the guys at the top, right? If this was next year's spot, believe it or not, I don't think it really matters because there's a lot of tools that are going to be there. This year, you don't want to be in a group stage. You just don't. There's just too much unpredictable. You want to stay up there. And then you got guys who are in the relegation. I forget. I don't want to say it publicly, G, but some of those guys have stayed. I'm not going to D2. We're just going to retire, which is another conversation for another day. But then you got those guys that just don't want to go down there, right? Then you got the guys, you said 2 wins. And then there's that weird 3-4 win group. You look at the 4-win group, you got to think right now when he gets back, Art is going to be on severe pressure, right? At this rate, with his resume being so bad, it's must finale at that rate or must Final Four at minimum.
I agree with that because he's someone who wants to make Super League.
Vapor. If he doesn't do anything here, I know he's got August Vapor, he's T5 Vapors come. What if it doesn't happen here? What if you lose round 2, right? And in your case, round 1 because of the bye island, are you sure you're going to make it? That's must finale. Your resume is done. Sanford. Even though it's lame duck, same situation. Cody, Drip is in that same. Those guys are in a weird spot too, where you think the pressure's high, but it's not monumental high because you know you got one tournament. This is a building tournament. You have to build a couple wins in the bank, put a couple bankers in there, and then start to cook T5. Because if you can bank a 2-on-1, right? You go 2-1, get a Sweet 16, and you're at 3 wins, 4 wins. Especially if you're at 4 wins, 6 wins, you're in the hunt. That's all you gotta do. You're in the hunt. You can start people watching T5. You go out there at 4 wins, 3 wins, you go out first, it's over. Right? It's not so much it's over, but your chance of making the Super League now has to go down to its Final Four minimum. And if you don't have a good resume, you better go out there and think it's finale or bust. That's a risky scenario. Last year, you could have easily had 1 win. We saw with Dark last year, he had 1 or 2 wins and made the run T5 and got a 5th place. Clay made the run. It was easier because we had less rounds. The bot was more stable. Things were cleaner. It's too cracked out right now. You don't want to be a 3 or 4 win person. You don't want to be a 0-win person. You really don't want to be someone, in my opinion, also in the 5-6 because that's a weird spot where if you've been in that spot before, it's a weird pressure situation where it's normally you're in Super League, but you want that double bye. But then there's also the single bye. It's weird. You either want to be the 2-win guy, or in my opinion, or the guy at the top, knowing, hey, all I got to do is make it. And you look at the people at the top, you know Ashley, right?
Yep.
KT, Brad are on Bye Island. I mean, really the only guys that can benefit are Cap, right, and Chami. Because JT, we don't know about T5. JT can legit play T4, and that's it. We don't know. There's question. Cap and Chami have to view this as opportunity. They're playing around. If Cap goes out there and loses to Allen round 1, what does that do? That opens up a double bye spot. You cannot lose to Allen round 1. Chami cannot go out there and lose the Fitzy round 1. He cannot lose, even for him with his resume being quad 4 dominant, he can't go out there and lose round 2. Right? He can't. And especially with Eli, who knows? A lot of questions. This is a perfect chart. It's great. It just shows you the differential. And it's interesting, G, you mentioned that too. It's very rare to see a league where there's not many 2-win guys and more 0-1 win and more 3 and 4. That's your I guess what would you call your mean median mode. That's more of just your mode. There's a certain people that are in there as a less mode, and there's guys that are a high mode. It's interesting. I find it very fascinating. This is a great conversation for sure. We'll have to keep talking about this down the road, especially in T5 when it's all playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably have a full statistical breakdown at some point with like the players with how many people have wins and whatnot. That's definitely something we could look in the future. But one last comment here before we move on. I mentioned it before with Vapor, with August Vapor. I think with all this discussion right now, I just think it's a bad idea to put all your eggs in one basket here, especially with how this season has gone. So I think for a lot of these players, this is really these next 2 tournaments are huge for them because if they don't do well here, you're put in a situation where you have to go out in tournament 5. And again, I just said it. Putting all your eggs in one basket, I don't think it's a good idea this season. maybe last year you could have got away with it, but this year I think it's a bad idea. What do you think about that?
There's only one guy in my belief. There's only one guy in my belief who can do that. One guy, and that's Clay. And the reason why is I know him personally, and I've seen him in real life I know how he acts under pressure. That is data you'll never see. You cannot say, okay, do you know how Clay? You've never seen him. I know him. I've met this guy in real life. I've hung out with him. He's the only guy in the league in T5 where if it's pressure all like he'll go all in and he'll find a way. He'll change his styles. He'll approach the game. He's a lone wolf. He's different. Unless your name is Clay Wolf, I cannot see anyone trying to risk that strategy. Right? It's a dumb strategy this year. There's too many players, and you got to think, G, is the other thing. Big Dog Art's coming back, right? Round 1 Art is back. Ashley is back. We believe Jeff is back, which is still minor. M should be back. All these guys are coming back. DJ's another one, right? DJ's taking a big hit. We even mentioned him. I mean, he was in the thick of this. He has to, unfortunately, be all eggs in one basket, missing T4. Those guys are all back. That makes this thing even harder. This is an opportunity tournament. You have some of the best in round 1 and some of the best in the league not here in Ashley and DJ. You got to make it happen now. And if you don't make it happen now, when those guys are back, they're going to be hungrier than ever. T5 is going to be insane. Gee, we're looking at potentially, I'm doing the numbers with short, 28 games could be streamed in round 1 because that's how many things are going on the line with relegation, Super League bubble, Super League bye, Super League double bye. There's 28 possible games that have to be streamed due to something going on. You don't want to go in that pressure cooker. That is the ultimate pressure cooker, even more in the Super League. That's why T5 is the LCQ, right? And that's a perfect transition. We're going to get into the gelato in a second on the ice cream bowl. But that is the LCQ. T5 is your LCQ in D1. And if you can't make it happen in T4 to build enough of a platform, your season's up in smoke because your mentality is drained unless you had that killer instinct. And the only one I could say is Clay, as of right now, who's out. You just don't want to be in that spot. But that's my last thoughts, G. Let's move on to gelato. In June gelato. Where are we at, G? E8, right? We just made it to E8?
Just made it to the Elite Eight, yeah.
Right,
Regional finals here.
All you. Go for
All
it.
right, so this we talked about this before. Round of 32 was an absolutely chaotic round. Things started to calm down a little bit in this round of 16. I believe we only had one seed upset. No, scratch that. No, we had two seed upsets. My mistake. We only had two seed upsets in this round, so not as chaotic. We'll try to roll through as many of these quickly. MRE region. What a great round this region had. Both games went all the way to 7. Really phenomenal matches. Goldie was able to outlast Ryan Reed in a 4-3 matchup that saw Ryan Reed get the Uno, and then Goldie had the +4 hold to win the game right there. Went down to the wire there, and then you also had Skyver's Jenna, which was a absolute classic. Went back and forth. Bit of a power play controversy in the middle of Game 7, but it kind of all sorted itself out, so not too much of a biggie there. That game also had a point where both players are at Uno, both had the draw, and then Sky got a play off to go back to Uno, and then got a bailout there to win there. So really great matches in the Game Arena region. Baklava region was just a bunch of chaos. White Spider continues his reign of terror with the bot. Out to 10-0 now on the season. Beat Rune 4-0. Rune was, of course, understandably frustrated after the match. Really couldn't do anything about it. And then Rana not short. So we talk about Nam, who's one of the younger players on D1 side. Here's Rana, who is probably the youngest player in the league. Makes it all the way to the regional finals. Good beats Not Short, recently added commission member from this year. Yeah, I don't really have much to say on this one. I just think there were a lot of mistakes made throughout this matchup, and I think both players know what they need to do going forward. Rana White Spider is definitely not the matchup I thought we were going to get for the Baklava regional final, but that's what we have right now. And Chloro Camaro unfortunately ended in the TQ. They couldn't get the schedule going. Chloro ends up moving on, which is quickly breeze past that. Jav Retta. Jav wins debut of the tournament, so congratulations to him. A lot of people weren't really sure where he was going to do coming off the DQ win in the play-in, but was able to beat Retta 4-2. Did a really good job to get the job done there. I think he's really shown himself as a contender going forward. And then Alex versus Ace still in the Donatella region. Yeah, I mean, there was not much to say about this one. I mean, it was a little competitive to start out, and then Alex just kind of ran away with it. 4-2 victory here. Alex makes a match for regional final. He's definitely someone who has been talking up a lot of the D1 players, although it should pick up on mine. So it's okay.
All right, you're good.
But Yeah, I mean, looking at this, I mean, Alex has been calling out a lot of D1 players, but he's not quite in D1 yet, so we'll see how that goes, because if he doesn't make up D1, then that's going to be a little embarrassing, but we'll see how that happens. And then, Gone Luke, that one went back and forth. No, it did not go back and forth. My mistake. I'm saying it went back and forth in terms of who was having the momentum, really, because Luke went up 3-0, and then Gone just pulled a reverse sweep out of nowhere. Absolutely insanity. Gone has been one of the most hyped players. I mean, at this point, Gone's the favorite to win this whole thing, so Gone and Alex is going to be a really tough matchup in the Totsel regional final. We'll be interested to see how that goes. Claro Jav, I think this will be interesting. Both of them have the only 2 DQ wins of the tournament so far. White Spider Rana is going to be chaos, and then Goldie Sky is going to be one of the more tame matches, in my opinion. So, out of these 8 players left, only one of them has made a Final Four before, and that is Gone. So we'll see if he makes back-to-back Final Fours. But overall, interesting stuff. KT, any comments on this one? I mean, the prior round was a little bit less chaotic, but still kind of have a bit of that craziness all around.
Well, you look at the field here. Some of these names I'm dreading. Gee, right here.
I already know one of them.
Yeah, no comment on that one. Be a rude awakening if they end up here. Anyway, point is, I look at the 2 players. I think the winner. I said this to both Gone and Al. I talked to them a little bit. I said the winner of that game wins the whole tournament. I made that prediction. I think they're the 2 best players left, in my opinion. You know, Alex is a guy that, look, he is motivated. He's talked about he's the flame, man. You can't extinguish the flame. And a little bit of that art vibe going, right? We talk about art when he did the characters. He's got that art in him. Gone is he's a character, man. He's a guy that will talk about how he can't stand the scheduling in other leagues, but he likes the scheduling here, and he seems to have come into his own, right? He's a tricky character, has a lot of eye candy, which I think is perfect for a league like D2 where you don't see a lot of eye candy. I think those 2 guys are the ones to favor. I'm not sure about Sky and Goldie. Sky's got I'm pretty sure some mentality things needs to be worked on. Right? I think there were some times where she admitted terrible. Or I remember vividly catching that game. It was the Duck game where I went outside, just talking about some of the mentality things there. Goldie played an interesting game against Reed. Has more of that OG style, but then at times can burn the ammo crazy. It's a back and forth. I don't know. I still think the winner of Gone and Alex will win the whole tournament. I could be wrong. I think there's just those 2 are on another level right now. I could see maybe I don't know, maybe ironically somebody like Jav, who's you don't know what you don't know, make a deep run. We saw it with Nam in T1. We saw it with Tapir when no one thought he'd make the run in T1 of D2 and he won the whole thing. So somebody like Jav could do it. There's always that unknown character. I still think Gone and Alex control the cards, especially Gone, who's at this rate, if he gets the win here, you got to think is going to be one of those championship favorites, similar to how Brad did it. He could be a champion. And I'm pretty sure once you win a tournament in that league, you're automatically on a bye. I'm pretty sure, right? Is that how it works?
Once you win a tour, not necessarily, no, but if we're it kind of the way the seating kind of works is similar to what we have in D1, but not necessarily how the reveals are going down. But when it comes to when we were actually seeing the whole thing, it'll be similar to D1. So the win doesn't necessarily guarantee you a bye, but puts you in a good spot.
Yeah, at this rate too, we don't have a winner, right? The winner's been vacated with Tapir.
Pretty much.
This will be the first. That's the thing, right? You got to think in that element with Tapir gone, and all the 1 seeds losing. Background hockey. Mihail was there. The winner of this is going to be in a good spot, right? So I think Gone or Alice control the card. But that's all I'll say. One of those 2, whoever wins that match wins the whole. That's my prediction. I could be wrong. I'm dreading. Like I said, I'm dreading a couple people. I don't know. Just they don't strike me as a guy or a girl who will. I don't know. It just when we cut to the pressure mentality, when we actually get into a championship format, I just wonder, will they continue all these chaotic table talks and they play? And I'll be wrong. Look, I'll eat words if they actually still continue that and it works for them. Then we'll have to figure out how to adjust to that as a commentator or a streamer when we get to those. Whatever. I'm not streaming, but just as a viewer, I have to adjust that just to see how when I watch more of these games when it comes to playoff time. That's when I'll start tuning in more to the D2 league when it comes to playoff time. But right now, it's hard to say. I'll go Gunnar or Alex G. That's just my gut bet for sure.
Fair enough.
Relegation talks now, G. We were talking about this. Obviously, we have a relegation tournament coming in. You posted a list, I think, back in the lounge about 2 months ago. It is like the bump day for Indy. Out of the people that have 0 or 1 win, G, who do you think's the most in trouble? Who do you think actually will get a win in the 0, excluding yourself, obviously? Who do you think's the most in trouble in the 0-win guys, and who do you think's got a shot to break out?
I'm just going to categorize this right now. I think everyone who's missed a tournament right now with 0 wins is in huge trouble right now because they essentially have to get 2 wins to get out of relegation at this point. So that's going to be Bolton, Fitzwater, Payne, Andreas, Eric, and then Cologne's there also, but he's not coming back. So it's kind of just a foregone conclusion.
Jeff Bolton, too. Jeff as well when he gets back.
Bolton, we'll see. Well, I mean, I think did I mention? I thought I mentioned Bolton as the first one, but
How about that? I couldn't hear you.
yeah, no. Those guys need 2 wins because they missed the tournament, and the way it works is it goes series wins, then tournaments played. That way, it's just kind of gives a little more credit to everyone who was in every tournament because obviously we don't want someone winning a single game and then just not showing up the rest of the year. But yeah, I mean those guys are already in huge trouble. They need to get 2 wins, and I think with how a lot of their season has gone, that's going to be a very tall task. So I see a lot of them going to have to end up being in that battle. But getting 1 win could at least make them not be in the first round of it because remember the relegation battle, that final mini tournament that's done to determine who gets relegated. That's going to be 2 rounds. Top four seed to the 12 of the relegation avoid that first round. So you might want a win will probably put you in those top 4. So you definitely want to be there. In terms of the people who have been in every tournament, I think out of this whole list, I think Clint and Brando are the 2 people who are in the biggest trouble. I mean, for Clint, I thought he had it in his hands into May, and then he just kind of threw it away. So if you can't win that, I don't know if you're going to win anything at this point. So I think Clint's in huge trouble right now. Any thoughts on that?
Well, Clint's been in trouble since the moment he joined the league when he admitted to the Greens. But I know, all joking aside,
oh my god,
you gotta look at that. Look at that one's for Art, man. He's not going to be in the tournament. I had to go a little heat check KT on him. But all point aside, look, out of those 0-win guys, I only trust 2. I trust Pac, excluding you, right? I only trust Pac right now because he's always taking the opponent to 7. And God, it's between Gold and Allen. I look at Gold. You gotta look at this and say, look, I was in Super League. I was 1 turn away from winning the whole thing, and now I'm in this spot. The pedigree's there. He's got the mentality. He's got every tool in the arsenal. Why can't he just turn up at any time? There's going to be a lot of limiting factors and limiting beliefs. Maybe he'll turn. Allen, I think, if he just gets somebody not a tournament winner, right, or round 1 Art, I think could do something in T5 because surely he's not going to get bad Brad in round 1. If that's the case, then we have to look at that and say, why did we give this man the hardest path of all time? Because I wouldn't want to go through that patch. I'm one of the guys that I'll play anyone, but 3 in a row, it's going to be mentally destroying. Go 4 in a row, that's even crazier. So we'll see. I think those are the only 3 I trust.
Allen's going to need 2 wins also, so that is something to consider as well.
That's the problem, right? If he just needed 1, he could get 1. I don't know. I'll go Pat Johnson, probably the best bet, and then Gold second. Allen.
Yeah.
Just the guy off the table is a great guy in Zach. You have to watch him. He does a great job on the logos. He's someone to watch. I think Peter's safe. God, the fact that he's even in his talks is crazy. I don't know, G. This is harder with the 1-win group because there's just not a lot of pedigree, and the only one that's really streaky could be Peter. Everyone else, kind of unproven, right? So I don't know. The 1-win guys are kind of scary too, where they need 1 more, and then you got people like M that, in a way, may have stole a bid from just D1, right? They have 2 wins and they haven't been here, right? I don't know. Tough to say. This is a tough one to read on the 1-win guys. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm taking a look at this list right now. Slight correction here. MGR should be above Brian, but let me fix that real quick. I look at this, and to me, I think if you have more than 10 game wins, you're relatively safe unless you completely collapse in the last two tournaments, which I'm looking at these guys, like these three, MGR, Brian, Peter. I don't think any of them will. Not necessarily saying they'll get a series win, but I don't think they're going to get swept 2 times. So I think if you have 10 game wins, I think that's the safe number for the 1 and 3 crew. The people in trouble on the 1-3, I mean, Rodden easily has to be on the list for sure.
Yep.
I mean, 5 and 15 game record, that's terrible. Sam England's there also, and I mean, those guys are the only people who have 5 and 6 game wins respectively on the 1 win line. So they're already kind of in a league of their own. There's no tiebreakers there whatsoever. So that's a really big problem for them. And both those players went 7 in their wins as well. So that doesn't really help them either. You look at some of these other people. You see Aiden Smith, 7 and 13. I mean, that tells me he won. He won that game. He won 4-1. So that's relatively good for you because another one of these tiebreakers. Once you get to the same series game wins, another tiebreaker is the game win percentage. So if you win these matches in less games, that's good for you. That really helps you out because when you get those tiebreakers, that's really going to be a big benefit, and that's why he's ahead of Bowtie and Zach, who also have 7 game wins. So. Yeah, to me, the safe number is 10. Yeah, you could make an argument for 9, but yeah, I think the people who are really in trouble are the people who are like very close to the cut line at this point. I mean, I see you have it up right now, so I would stay concerned for those people especially. Like, I'll probably just highlight them real quick right here.
Big names too, G. Big names.
Yeah.
Big names.
And I mean, just a quick comment going back to the people who are below the line right now. Obviously, they need a series win. The people above the line don't right now, but they might soon. Yeah, I think for some of that, especially Pack, I think of because you say he's one of the safe ones. He's going to have to do something he's never done in this league before, and that's win a series. So it's an interesting situation here for a lot of these players. All these players have different stories to how they got here and what they need to do. So. Again, this is where this gets really interesting, and I think this is obviously relegation. It sucks for the players who have to be involved in it, but I think it's a great thing from a spectator's point because it gives more meaning to the people who are lower on the table to watch them and see how that happens because they're fighting for their lives here in D1.
I mean, it's interesting, G. It's an interesting prospect for you. Look at guys like H. Never thought you'd see a day even thinking about relegation, right? Peter, same thing. The fact that we're even talking about the bot creator and MGR is unfortunate, right? Zach,
I do think 11 wins puts him safe, but he still is on here because he only has 1 series win.
Because you never know, G, right? What if you, Mac, and Varigo run the gauntlet, right? You have Leo winning, right? What if Allen gets the upset, right? And then you start getting guys that, even though he needs 2 wins, you start getting guys that get these upsets out of Adam's arc due to the bot being on whatever. Now those guys are going to have to be in must-win spots. It's a juxtaposition you just don't want to be in, right? And we know we have relegation tournament coming next tournament, which is an interesting thing. It's going to be like mid-tournament, which that's another thing we have to handle. But who knows? Who knows what will happen? Like I said, this league, it's hard to win in this league. This is becoming a world championship. We've already talked about 7 countries in the top 25. I think we only missed 3. I forgot Iran were red. So there's 10 countries in the league right now, at least in D1. There's more coming. Definitely when D2 gets over here.
Absolutely.
We have, which is, like I said, just something we have to work on. And then you have people that are on year winless streaks. Some of these guys have won a year or a career. Right? When are they going to break out? It's hard. This league is becoming like the Cup Series, G. It's hard to win. It's not easy to say everything's there. On this bot, everyone's equal. You can see it. Right, all you need is Cody said it best. All you need is the right hands. You can cook, unless you're miles apart from miles of the part bottom of the player, or just not having a good day, right? And then that makes you really wonder, with this league becoming even more close, with how close it is. Do you wonder next year, does the gaps actually go bigger, right? Do we see the gaps actually go a wide margin because there's more tools into the arsenal, and it'll take a full year to close it back up? This year we said it in G. We said it both in G. We said it in March. The gaps are going to be wide. We saw it. The reason why is new rules, right? The cards start regulated, the power plays were reduced, the series lengths were reduced. April, same thing. We still have, but ever since midway T2, it's been different, right? Ever since that Elite 8 and T2 to now, the gaps are shrunk. There's no from 30th to 50th, I would say, is a microcosm. From 5th to 29th is a microcosm. There's only 4 players that have really branched, and you look at number 4. In my opinion, Cap could be susceptible to whatever's in the past, right? We don't know. He has the low card start thing. You look at Brad. Brad is a guy that had the one tournament. He has to back it up. Then you got Ashley and me, right? Ashley's not here. I know what I can do, but we're not susceptible to whatever the bot throws at. We have to develop and adapt. So there's also that going on. It's a wild world we live in this league. To think, gee, that we're even talking about this 1 year later, because we were talking about 1 year later how, oh, you're doing the first ever sweep. That it's over. T's got it, right? T's got it. Aria's got it, right? The big 3. Peter was the number one. Peter was the number 1 player entering this tournament last year. After this tournament, he was the number 1 player exiting this tournament, entering. Where is he? Nowhere, right? And it's crazy to think the full 360 swing has happened, and it makes these relegation talks interesting. It makes the whole league pressure situation. It's a fascinating concept as we continue to age this league. Remember, this is a 1-year-old league, G. There are things we have done in this 1-year-old league that certain leagues would never even imagine, having our own in-house bot and creating all this drama. There's not much more you could say other than I can't wait to see what happens in the jungle, man. That's really all I got. What's your final word before we get to the last topic?
I mean, you mentioned it also, the league's 1 year old, and it's another thing also where, like, most leagues online not necessarily go year long. Most of them go, like, in spurts, maybe, like, quarterly. So, I mean, I think of UUL, for example, those seasons usually last about 3 months each. You have a few in a year. This season goes from start of the year to probably, like, 3/4, like, October or so, like 3/4 of the year done. So, yeah, it's interesting because it's kind of like an actual
MLB.
league in America in a way, except not as profitable. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's not something you typically see, but it's something a lot of people are invested into, and I think it's a really interesting to see how that plays out, and with all these storylines coming around, because these storylines don't go away. It's not just about quick spurts of 1 week and then they're gone. They last for weeks, maybe even months. So really interesting to see how that plays out, and it's going to keep evolving as we go along, especially going into next year. So we'll see how that goes, but. Again, that'll probably do it for the relegation talk. We'll jump into our final topic here.
And one last thing, G, I always say this too. You only get to September, October if you have a good February through August, right? Someone, when we talk about relegation, someone in August, whoever loses in round 1, they're just done, right? Let's say they have 1 or 2 wins and they're not in a relegation. We're going to have to say goodbye. See you next year, right? We'll see you in 2025 February. That's how it goes in this league, right? I know there's been a lot of talk of we should change the. No, we're never. As long as I'm the commissioner, at least for D, we're not changing. And the reason why, G, I don't want to change it. I know in D2 there's been talks, but this is what the ultimate grind is. If you ever wanted a sports experience, think about all those MLB guys, right? They have to play every. What makes us different is you have to understand. There's a 40. The last game I played was June 1st, right? My next game won't be till July 20th or something. That's a long layoff. But how do I keep myself fresh in that way? How do I continue to evolve and study while having that layoff is what separates this from an everyday league where you got to keep playing. NFL's a little bit differently, right? They got to play week on week, but at least you got some time. It's the closest we can say. The closest I could say is this is golf, in a sense that golf you don't play every tournament. You have to take a couple tournaments off in a season, right? It's closest as I can say is golf, but we'll talk about that. That's another topic for another day. Let's go to Super League players to watch. G, obviously, excluding Ashley not here and DJ not here, who are your 5 Super League players to watch that are in, and then 2 that are out that can make a jump in? What do you got?
I mean, right now we're looking at this list here. Two people that are on the outside looking in right now. I would keep an eye on this tournament. In my opinion, I think Lamas is one of them. Not necessarily because I think he's going to have a super deep run all the way to like the Final Four or something, but I think this is a tournament of redemption for him. I think he feels like he has something to prove here, and something to redeem himself from after a miserable May. So I think he's someone who's going to be invigorated, motivated, and ready to lock in and go to work. And I think another one you got to watch out for is I would say Clay. Clay's a little lower on this table here, but I mean this is where he kind of starts getting into the rhythm here. Last year it wasn't until tournament five until he broke out and made a huge run to the final. But I think with this year with the desperation starting a little earlier, I think this is where Clay really thrives. So I think these last two tournaments could play really well for Clay Wolf. I would keep an eye out on him throughout this tournament.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cody as well. This is his time, man. He just got that Panthers chip. I said then this is his time. It needs to be now or never for Cody. He knows it. On the outside looking in the top 15, I was going to go with Clay, but I have to almost think Caesar here on this one, Jay. Caesar has been searching, and I know even if he wins round one, I know Sanford isn't going to be the big win this year like you would normally think in most years or most seasons, but that's going to be a confidence. But he needs to think about this because let's face it, Jay, if it is Sanford, right, he gets Sanford, right, he gets that game, and I'm still there. KT Caesar has been talked about as a match because we both know the styles, right? We both play very, very interesting styles, similar to a T. That's the path. And then you look at Lamas; he's got a chance to knock off a number one seed. And what redemption would it be, G, if he gets to that Sweet 16, or in this case, S16, and it's Tago on the other end after Tago beat him 4-3 when he was up 3-1 last year in this very tournament? That would be poetic justice for him. Right, so those are the two storylines I have to look for. Now, the fight I got to watch. Obviously, the number one guy I have to watch is Brad. Right, the number one guy is Brad. Of course, I'm taking myself out. G can pick me if he wants, but I have to say Brad because Brad did that tournament run that no one saw coming. Everyone's now seeing him as a quad one win, as a big fish win. What can Brad do? Can he back it up? Can he back up his mentality, which has been impressive since that defeat to M, which is the only thing holding him back this year? So we'll see what Brad can do. Number 2 on my list, no brainer here, has to be on the list of everyone's JT. Is he going to come back T5? We don't know. And because of that, is this his T5, right? Is this his last chance to get in? JT needs to prove it right here or it's over. Third on the list, I've said it till the day on the hill, right? It needs to be Nam. Nam has to be the guy. Nam needs to be that guy for March. And if he's not that guy for March, it could be a tough, tough hill to climb. He's got the potential. He's got the tools. He just needs to get the mindset right. We'll see what Nam can do. And you would think I skipped a lot of rows, but there's a reason why I did, because the next guy on the list is Stingray for me. Stingray is in the same spot as Nam. Had a bad drop. Needs to find a little rhythm, right? He needs to get back to just saying maybe playing Sting works once in a while in a round one, but don't do it every round. It's a round that he knows he needs to win. He still has that flair and that flash that we all like to see from a entertainment perspective. Sting needs to bring it. And the last guy is ALP, because I want to know what ALP is actually meaning. Right? Is he the top of the Alps, right? Is he going to be a guy at the top of the Alps, or is he going to be at the bottom? What do we figure out from ALP this tournament? We'll decide whether he's in the Super League or not. We won't get it round 1 or 2 if he gets there, but it will come down to round 3. If he gets to Yoshi, and if Yoshi's there and he wins, boom, that's something to look into. If he's not there and he can still make a run, maybe get to an E8, similar to how or close to an E8, maybe best of the rest and get a 2-1, he's still there. It just comes down to, for me, ALP. How flashy will he be? How's his mentality? And what will we learn from him to decide the ultimate fate? Those are my 5 to watch. It's Bad Brad, JT for sure, and the guys 13 through 15. Nam, Sting, ALP. Who says you?
Well, I got 4. I'm going to throw in 4 more names here that I think you need to watch out for. These first 2 are going to be kind of combined together, and that's going to be Captain and Chomik. I think this is opportunity central for them because Ashley's not here, and then Brad and KT are on Fire Island. So round 1, they already got a huge opportunity to get 1 win ahead of the other 2. And not to mention, also, both these guys are fighting for the double bye spot. Captain currently holds on to the last spot at the moment. I think for them, it's really just a huge battle to try and solidify themselves into that position going into Tournament 5, because we've said it before, we don't really want to be putting all your eggs in one basket here for that tournament. And, I mean, those guys are pretty close on the line in terms of the double bye and maybe even the single bye if they don't have a great tournament. So those 2 people I would really keep an eye out on, because that double bye battle is going to be interesting to watch out for. Another one I would keep an eye out for is Monkey. I mean, Monkey's one of the players on the buy island, but he's been someone who is very, very fragile right now with his placement. Because if he has a bad tournament, he could drop like a rock, and I think that's really something you need to watch out for. His wins are kind of questionable right now, so he's definitely someone who's looking for those wins to get a good grass to keep his spot. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes for Monkey. It's really going to have to come down to whether he can make the run or not. And then the last one here is going to surprise you here, and you're going to have to give me a second here. The last one I would watch out for is DJ Curtis. Now, I know what you're saying at first. Gee, man, he's not even in the tournament right now. Well, that's true, but here's the thing. Curtis is currently 8th right now on the Super League bubble, and he had a bit of a drop last tournament. He's going to be dropping again after this tournament, and depending on how these results go for the players below him, he could very well be in that 14-15 spot, which will make Tournament 5 an incredibly scary situation for DJ at that point. So you really want to watch out for how this goes for DJ, because depending on how the people do below him, he could be in a very bad spot going to Tournament 5. But if a lot of people below him don't do well, he might stay around that same area, maybe 10th or something, and he might be in a better spot going to Tournament 5 with a better chance to make Super League. So for Curtis, it's really an interesting point where you're watching him not because of what he's playing, because he's not playing this tournament, but you're watching him how much damage is being done, because he has no control over this. And to me, I think that's going to be a really interesting story to watch out for, because Ashley, I think, is fine. I don't think Ashley's going to drop that many spots. But Curtis, on the other hand, is a more interesting scenario because he's not as safe, because he's closer to that chaotic group than Ashley. And to me at least, I think could be in a dangerous spot depending on how this tournament goes. Any thoughts on that last one? Because I know that's a bit out of nowhere.
No, DJ Curtis is a guy that has been really well in the clutch this year, G, and I didn't even think about that. If he's really well in the clutch, maybe this is what he wants. I don't know. It's hard to read with DJ. We talked about, I know last year he was here for the vibes only. I don't believe that anymore. I believe he's here for a hybrid style. He's here for the vibes, but in the back end, if the opportunity awaits and it's there, I'm going to go for it and send it. That makes him dangerous, right? He's one of the few guys that he doesn't really care about pressure. He's freaking the military, right? He's got great composure, discipline. And he's a guy that could actually be someone scary to play in round 1 T5, right? Because the game, less data on him, right? There's less data on him. We have no data to look back to after this tournament. Not a guy that gets carded up, but when the opportunity is there, he'll win. I think he is the scariest guy in terms of that. We know Ashley's just in a safe spot. I've been on the R train since minute 1, but I'm going to be honest with you, G, it's going to be hard for him. Mentally, the thing with him is, can he mentally get back to where he needs to be in T5? I don't know. It's going to come down to DJ, I think. It makes a good point. If DJ can get back to where he needs to be in T5 and actually builds it up and gets 3 wins even, or 2 wins, right? 8 wins. Is that enough, right? Is 8 or 9 wins enough to make Super League this year? I think 8's enough for sure on the bubble. But without think about this. What if every 1, 2, and 3 seed are gone? Right? They're all gone by the Sweet 16. Then what? Then you got a surprise winner possibility, and that could be even more crazy. You just don't know what's going to happen. There's too much chaos going on. Is the 1 seed thing going to be real? I still don't know if it occurs. Is it a trend? Who knows? I can't wait to see how the jungle plays out. It's time to sprout some plants right here for sure in the old Sprout 64. What says you, G? Final thoughts?
This is going to be a really interesting tournament to take an eye out for a bunch of different reasons. I mean, that comes down to the relegation battle, and also just generally speaking, the whole situation with the double buys and whatnot, and then obviously the Super League bubble, of course. I think every matchup is something that's worth watching out for a variety of reasons. So I think with how this has gone, it's going to be really interesting, and I think there's going to be a matchup for everyone in this tournament, whether it be in the first round or in the championship finale.
Can't wait for it, G. It's going to be a fun one. We're ready to wrap up the Gelato 2. Should be done in about a week or 2. Looking forward to seeing who wins that tournament, and we'll be starting up D1. Obviously, these D1 tournaments go a little quicker, G, because we don't have those 5-play. We wish them the best. Obviously, all of them going through different things. And we also wish Alan the best. We're not going to say publicly what's going on here on a pod, but he already knows what's going on, as he told me to say it in the Discord VC and the private. But we wish those guys the best. For all of us here at MRE, we want to wish you guys a great July 4th. Hope you had a great July 4th. Check us out on our home base YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all the good goods and the subscriptions, all that. Appreciate you guys for listening and staying tuned with us. It's going to be a fun one. Thanks for all your help, man. Can't wait to finish out the Tournament 3, of course, in D2 and start up the T4. The Jungle
Absolutely.
of July. Absolutely. Let's get it done, baby. Have a go, and we'll see you guys back for the round 2, which will be, I guess we can spoil it, a little Timber action for a little Timber 32 preview and Sprout 64 recap. Thanks, guys.